Well. Hello. Welcome back, everybody, to the Daily Cooking Show, to the Daily Cooking Stream. I hope you're all having a beautiful Sunday today. If you're watching this live, it is currently Sunday, 5 p.m. ET, March 24th. Hello. And I see that we have all of my lovely little sous chefs in the chat. Hello to Serena. Hello to Jestelins. Hello to Eliam. Hello to Man on the Net. Hello as well to John Dahlia, and welcome on in August and Ryan7. It's lovely to have you. Hello Trash Can Cat Mom. Hello to WW. Hi. It's good to see all of you. Missed you all so much. I'm pretty excited about today's stream. Today's going to be a good one. Today's going to be a simple one. Today's not going to be anything too new in terms of things that we've not done before in the past, but these are going to be some cooking fundamentals that I think should be in every single home cook's arsenal of things to do. So it's good to see all of you. I hope you've all been having an excellent Sunday today. Mine has been really busy. I've been doing a lot of different errands. I've been running around. I've been doing laundry even, which is a bit of a tragedy. Liam, I'm glad that you like the shirt. Go work your cringe 9 to 5. I'll be gaming. I feel like I need to voice that out every single time that I actually wear the shirt today. Hello. Hi. It's good to see all of you again. If you're watching this live right now, I want to hear a nice resounding yes, chef. I want to make sure that I have all of your attention, that you're all here ready to go, and that you're here ready to learn. Today, we are going to be almost ceremoniously on a Sunday, as is in British tradition, although I have nothing to do with the UK at all. We will be doing a roast beef, and I'll be walking through my roast beef theory. I'll be walking through my roast beef technique, and we'll talk about the way to be doing it. So let's talk about the beef that I have here in front of us, guys. I have a big hunk of beef. You might be asking me, oh, Daramgar, what kind of cut of beef is this? I got this from my lovely butcher shop near me. This butcher, Carlos, he gave this to me special. I believe this is the end of the ribeye where it starts to become the shoulder, where it starts to become the chuck. So the ribeye starts to taper out. It's a bit of a tougher cut, but it's a really delicious one. It's a really fatty cut. So what kind of cuts can you use for something like a roast beef? You can use practically anything. You can use a ribeye, you can use an eye of round, you can use a chuck. Now, there are a lot of roast beef elitists out there. You know what? I'm going to talk about something. I'm going to talk about something right now. There's a lot of people out there that say, oh, you must only use the finest of ribeyes. You can only make a roast beef out of a tenderloin. Absolute nonsense. A roast beef, if sliced thin enough, will always be really tender and always be really delicious. Only, with the more expensive cuts, with like the steak cuts, like the rib and the tenderloin, you can get like nice big thick slices. But guys, any chunk of beef, so as long as it doesn't have too much connective tissue running through it, sliced thin enough, will always be tender and delicious as a roast beef. We're going to be cooking it nice and medium rare. Man on the Net, you're asking me how long this will take to cook, and we'll get into that in just a moment. So this is the cut that I am using. I recommend that you just find whatever cut is locally available to you and figure out how much money that you want to be spending. Typically, the more money that you end up spending, the better intramuscular fat it has, and typically the better cut of meat that it is, right? So this is a fairly cheap piece of meat. For like 3 pounds or so, this was, like $7 a pound. You figure out what kind of cut that you would like. You can use an eye of round, you can use a rib, you can use a tenderloin, you can use basically anything that you would like, and I will walk you through how to do this, okay? And so, Man on the Net, we'll get to your question in just a second. And so, guys, we are going to be tying this, and I do want to preface this with, I dry brined my piece of meat yesterday. We heavily covered it with salt. Now, this does a couple of things, which we'll talk about in just a moment as well. And I had it sit exposed in my refrigerator on a little sheet tray, and this is the vessel that it will be baking on. And so you might be asking me, oh, Daramgar, what will we be eating with this big hunk of beef? And so I will say potatoes. I have here a bunch of Idaho potatoes. And with this, we'll be doing a warm potato salad. My idea of a warm potato salad, it is not one that is saturated with mayonnaise. It doesn't have any sour cream. It doesn't have any mayonnaise. This is going to be purely an olive oil based potato salad, guys, okay? So I have a bunch of Idaho potatoes here. Now, let me say something right now. This is not the ideal potato salad potato. An Idaho potato, oftentimes kind of described as floury, this is not the ideal kind of potato for a potato salad. But guess what? This is what I had at home. And I'll be walking through how to process this and why we're doing the things that we do to, of course, end up with a really delicious potato salad. Also, Ali and Pseudo Natural, it's lovely to have both of you. And so, guys, we'll be peeling these, we'll be cutting them up, I'll talk about how to treat them, and I'll talk about why we're doing this kind of potato salad. Beef and potatoes, a union as old as time itself. And I love warm potato salads, right? The ones with like a lot of herbs, the ones that are, not like cold, because you can serve them on the same plate as something like a roast beef. You can use some of the potato salad to pick up some of the juices as well. So it's going to be really delicious. It's going to be really aromatic, and I'll walk through all of my different technique for it. And so guys, let's talk about the most important part of the potato salad itself. It's going to be the herbs. And I have a big bunch of herbs. And of course, John Dolly, we have to have mustard and potato salad. We have here a bunch of cilantro. Now, why am I doing this dish specifically? Well, I had a bunch of these potatoes in my fridge that I want to get rid of, and I love having a fresh assortment of herbs at all times. And so the herbs I'll be using for today will be some cilantro, and it will be some dill as well. So the cilantro, I washed it, I threw it into the salad spinner, and I put it in a Tupperware with a paper towel to keep it nice and fresh. Let me go ahead and also show off my dill while we have a moment. Okay, my beautiful dill. Everybody, this is an herb that I feel like people severely underuse. Everybody tap in. I want to make sure that all of you understand this. I think more people should be actively cooking with dill. Okay, dill, typically speaking, the way that most people do it, they only use it with salmon, and then they call it a day. Dill is incredible in so many different salads. It's incredible as a garnish. Okay, the way that I grew up eating a lot of dill was, I grew up in a Russian family, right? We grew up eating a lot of boiled potatoes with butter, raw garlic, and raw dill sprinkled in. That's the kind of potatoes that we would eat. Garlic, butter, and dill. It's a very important combination for me. And so that's something that I'm going to be trying to evoke in my potato salad as well. I'll be showing you how to make a really delicious dressing out of this, and then we'll have both the dill cilantro dressing, as well as simultaneously having it be chopped up into the salad itself. Any non-salad dill uses? Absolutely. You can use it like any other fresh herb. Think about finishing a sauce with it. Think about garnishing a plate with it, right? Think about making a marinade with it, right? Like something like, I did this on stream once before, but we made a dill chimichurri, right? Whereas a chimichurri traditionally is made with parsley, I just happened to use dill instead, and it was delicious. So any other use that you could imagine for things like basil, for things like parsley, for things like cilantro, you can use with dill. Everybody, can I please get a yes, chef? I want to make sure that you're all, understanding of the power of dill. Also, hello to Jestilence. It's lovely to have you. Okay, so everybody, let's also talk about the last few components. I have a bunch of scallions. I love scallions with potatoes. I love scallions in general. I will be putting every single last one of these scallions into my salad. Okay, because you truly can't have enough scallions. The lemon will be taking the zest and the juice of. The garlic will be, of course, crushing it up, and I want it raw in my warm potato salad. It's basically going to be like dressed and seasoned warm boiled potatoes, as opposed to like a potato salad. But the reason why I love this kind of a potato salad is because this is the kind of a thing that stores super well in the fridge. So everybody, the thing that I really want to emphasize to all of you is what it means to actually cook at home. Okay, I want you to be cooking things that are easy to reheat, or things that store well in the fridge. And now there's another thing that I'm going to be focusing on, because I recently started my job as a cooking instructor. I have to now pack some lunches with me whenever I go into the city and take a training. And now I will also be valuing transportability, the portability of something. And so to make something portable, for me, ideally, it is a, one thing that comes to mind is a salad that can be eaten both lukewarm and cold. And this kind of a warm potato salad, because of the fact that it's not drenched in mayonnaise or anything, will store super well in a lunchbox. You eat it when it's lukewarm and it's delicious. You eat it when it's cold and it's delicious. Also, Stolen Coil, thank you so much for the Prime sub. So this is the kind of food that I think is ideal to make at home. Having a big tub of this kind of potato salad in the fridge, it is good at all occasions. So everybody, we're about to jump on in. For those of you that haven't already done so, I please encourage you to check out my Patreon. You can type in !Patreon in the chat. You can also scroll down, go into the About section. I'm trying to be able to do this full time one day. And so that was my one obligatory show. So guys, we're going to start getting into the process of tying up the beef. We'll be tying it up, we'll be getting it ready to go in just a moment's notice. And we'll talk about the function of that. Also, my oven is at 250 degrees, and we'll talk about why that is the specific temperature that we have chosen. Okay, so everybody, let's go ahead and go on over to my cutting board. Just sitting here and ready to go for us today. Ooh, excuse me, let me just adjust my camera ever so slightly. Okay guys, so once again, this is the cut of beef that I am using. This is the end of the ribeye where it starts to become the shoulder, I believe. But you can do this with any sort of big cut of beef. You can do this with round, you can do this with eye of round. There's a lot of roast beef elitists that say eye of round is a trash cut. It's fine if you slice it thin, it will be tender at that point. But this is the beef that I have been dealt with today. Okay, so everybody, I'm starting off by dry brining this meat. Yesterday, when I purchased the meat, I took it out of the package and I heavily salted it. And this accomplishes for us two things. Is everybody tapped in? I want to hear a nice yes, chef. And as always, if you have any cooking questions about this dish or about something else, I am here to help you out. Also, hello to D. Elhard. So guys, we heavily salted it. And the reason for this is two things. First of all, the salt ends up penetrating the beef. No other spices tend to, in a lot of different ways, marinades and seasoning things in advance, it doesn't really do anything. When it comes to things like salt and sugar though, especially with seasoning meat, it does actually penetrate it. So the salt accomplishes one thing for us, which is we now have the super thick cut of beef that has now been evenly salted all the way by letting the salt penetrate. And so I would do this at least like 6 to 8 hours in advance. If you don't do this, it'll be fine, it'll just not be ideal. The second function of this is the dry brining aspect. The beauty of salting something in advance, like a cut of beef or maybe something like chicken, is it increases its moisture retention. I forgot about the actual scientific reasons as to why that happens and why that's the case, but the meat tends to hold onto more moisture, which might seem a little bit counterintuitive. There's a lot of nonsense out there. There's a lot of food nonsense out there that says, for years, you must only season a steak a minute before you cook it. You must only season it just before it goes into the oven. Guys, salting it in advance, for a day or two in advance, actually increases its moisture retention. And then the third function is that it does dry it out slightly. It dries out the meat on the outside. Regardless if you're dry brining it or not, by putting it nice and flat on a sheet tray like this and having it exposed to the air, you're drying out the surface of the beef itself, which will allow us to get a much better color, a much better seal later on when it's time for us to put it onto the pan. So 3 functions. We get the outside drier, we get the inside nice and moist because we're increasing the moisture retention, and then we're getting the whole thing seasoned through. So now let's move on to the next step, guys. We have to tie this bad boy. And let me talk to you about why we have to tie this. So guys, this is a chunk of meat. Okay, aside from something like a tenderloin, which seems mostly consistent, most cuts of meat are extremely irregular in shape. If we were to take this as it is and immediately put it into the oven, we're going to get parts that are overcooked, check this part out, and we're going to get parts that are undercooked, like this part, this big middle part. And so, by tying it up and slightly adjusting it in that way, we're going to make sure that everything is as reasonably even of a thickness as possible so that it can cook nice and evenly in the oven. Again, you don't have to do this, but if you don't do this, you will have beef that is overcooked and you will have beef that is undercooked. Is that understood? Can I please get a yes, chef? So why did I tell you about this? Why did I tell you about the process of air drying and brining, and tying it up? Are any of these steps necessary? These steps are only necessary if you're pursuing the ideal juicy roast beef that you're going for. Fully seasoned through, maximum moisture retention, maximum color on the outside, and evenly cooked. If you were to neglect every single one of these steps, you would still end up with a pretty decent roast beef. Would it be incredible? No, but it would still be pretty okay. So you want to think about how much effort that you want to put into this. If you bought this beef today, a little bit of a dry brine would help, but it's no longer as essential unless you have that day before. Will we cook this meat medium rare? Absolutely we will. Meat is like a sponge. The longer that you cook it, the more that you're sort of squeezing it and pushing out all the excess liquid. So I'm going to be shooting for, in total, 130 degrees Fahrenheit. We're first getting it to around 115 degrees in the oven, and then we'll be pan-searing it until completion. Okay, and that's so that we develop a nice delicious brown crust, and we want to keep it nice and juicy. All right, guys, so the first thing that we're going to have to do is we have to think about how we actually want to cut this bad boy. And so here's the thing. We basically have this center part that's really nice and thick, and then we have these couple of, like flaps on either side of it. And so what I'm thinking is, this is how I want to tie it for today. I want to tie it like this. I want to keep these two thinner flaps folded over themselves. Okay, and then this way, we will have a relatively even thickness. I don't want to completely roll it up like this, because then we'll have like a huge gap of air on the inside, and it will be too thick to actually cook reasonably. And so, if this is the way that we actually want to tie up this meat, Okay, we have to start thinking about the structure and how we want to get the butcher's twine. The butcher's twine, you want it to be a natural fiber and not like, plastic or anything. No polyester fiber or anything. Chef, how's my day been? Good. It's been a really busy day today. So guys, this is sort of the tie that I'll be looking for, and we're going to be tying it up nice and tight like this. We'll be doing a string all the way through the middle just to get these parts to sort of stay intact, and then we'll be tying it up lengthwise as well. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and just swap out these gloves for some new ones and we'll get started. We're going to need approximately 6 bits of twine in total. We're going to need 1, 2, 3, like 4, like 4 or 5 bits of twine, and one of them longer than the others so that it can fully wrap around the beef itself. So let's go ahead and get that started. Also, a quick note on the temperature while we have a second. Guys, I'm doing the beef at 250 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't want to see you doing big, thick cuts of schmeat. Like, look at this bad boy. That's a big, thick cut of schmeat. I don't want to see you doing that at, 450 degrees. Here's the general rule. Here's a rule of thumb. If it's a thick piece of meat, the lower the temperature, the better. If it's a thin piece of meat, the higher the temperature, the better. And the reason for this is because if we started this off at 450 degrees with such a thick piece of meat, the outside would be so overcooked by the time that we got an inner temperature of 115 degrees Fahrenheit. A low heat, or even something like a sous vide, gets you and ensures that even edge-to-edge cook that we're looking for. Okay? And so guys, let's go ahead and get some twine out. I'm going to be doing 1, 2, 3, 4. Am I going to do 5? Let me think about this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, let's do 5 of these. And let's just go ahead and measure this out. And we're going to be roughly shooting for the same exact measurement on each. Okay, so something like this. We want to make sure that it fully wraps around. It's really annoying if you cut it too short. Right, so I can already tell you right now, this is a little bit too short. So I'm going to do a little bit longer. Do I enjoy March 23rd? I surely did. Is today the 23rd? No, today's 24th. I surely did. Pseudo-natural. Chef, how does one get used to handling the meat, cutting, slicing it? Touching meat with my bare hand irks me because the meat's texture scares me out. So there's a couple of things. First of all, in regards to what you were specifically experiencing with the texture, exposure therapy is something that a lot of, especially like cognitive behavioral therapists would prescribe. I'm not a therapist. I wouldn't be able to tell you that. I can only give to you workarounds. And the workaround that I would give you would be to use nitrile gloves. And if not that, then I would use tongs. Otherwise, most therapists, they would want to talk about why you have, this discomfort with that texture, and then they would probably want to do exposure therapy and getting you started one at a time and to desensitize you essentially. But that is not something I am qualified enough to actually prescribe to people, considering that I am not a therapist or anything. So guys, we're going to need, let's do 4 of these bits of butcher twine. And again, we're doing this nice and evenly. And do you need special butcher twine? No, you just need something that is done with a natural fiber. Okay, and so typically anything branded as butcher twine would be good to go. But you wouldn't just want to use like any like typical yarn or anything. Because sometimes if it's like polyester or something, then that's no good to actually cook with. I believe the material you're looking for is fiber. Oh yeah, it's not fiber, it's cotton. Okay. I don't know why I just said fiber, excuse me. Okay, and we got 4 of these, and these are going to go down horizontally through the meat. And now we need one that is extra, extra long. And again, it's okay if it's a little too long. We'll always be able to cut down, but we won't be able to, of course, get a longer piece of twine or anything. My hair looks so good. Thank you, Bota. I appreciate it. Also, welcome on in. How'd you find the stream? Okay, something like this. Beautiful. Okay, guys, so this is the one that's going to go across the full length of the beef itself. And so let's go ahead and now just set up my station. Okay, here's what we're going to go ahead and do. We're going to now roughly approximate how long the beef is going to sit. We're going to just take this twine right down the middle. Perfect. And this one's going to go just like this. And then the rest of it, we're going to line it up, guys. We're going to go ahead and line this bad boy. Okay, and we're going to keep it nice and even. just like this. And so guys, I know this might seem a little bit silly, but I do promise you, I think this is a really, really important step in ensuring that we have an evenly cooked piece of roast beef. It's not that challenging, I promise you. I'm also going to be showing you how to do the easiest type of knot. I am not a particularly seasoned butcher or anything, right? I don't know how to do an incredible fancy knot, guys. Okay, but I do know how to do a really basic one that will simply get the job done for us today. So let's go ahead and get that started. I'm going to go ahead and glove up everybody. And now we're going to go ahead and take Mr. Beef and we're going to go ahead and place him directly into the middle of this. And as you can see, we didn't actually position these the best. These can be a little bit better placed because we want these to go nice and inside. There you go. Just drag it in, beautiful, perfect. Keep it nice and taut. There we go. Okay, so that's what we're looking for, guys. So we're not looking for the actual butcher twine to go right to the edge because then it's just going to end up slipping off. Okay, so here's all that we're going to do, guys. We're going to go ahead and take this butcher twine. Jack, you've asked me what is the difference in the taste of grass-fed beef versus corn-fed beef. Grass-fed beef is a little bit more gamey. Okay, it's a little bit more gamey. Actually, wait, which one am I going to do first? I think I'm going to do this one first. So it's a little bit more gamey and there's a little bit more flavor in the fat itself. Corn-fed beef or grain-fed beef, it tends to have a lot more intramuscular fat, right? And so these are just completely different classifications. So guys, we don't need to tighten it up all the way that the meat like starts bulging per se, but we're going to basically go like this, and we're going to just hold that down. And then we're going to make a second basic knot, guys. We're just doing a really, really basic knot. So let me just show you this again. Here's the first knot. Nice and easy. And I'm just going to adjust it so it just goes down the middle. Okay? And all that you need to do my ideal butcher knot, we're just holding this down and we're grabbing the twine and we're holding this down and we're grabbing the twine, guys. And we're going to go ahead and just make another knot inside. Oop, I think I completely let go of my twine though. That wasn't very effective. So let me do this one more time, okay? So hold it nice and tight. Let's readjust, let's reposition. So I have a nice grip on my twine. That's one, and that's two. And now while continuing to pull it to make sure that the grip doesn't actually loosen, we're just going to go in and make this little knot right here. And again, I'm not looking to really, really bulge it. I'm not looking to tie this up too tightly or anything, guys. The only thing I'm really looking to do here is just to make sure that these flaps are being kept on the inside. Okay, there we go. Nice and simple. And all I'm going to do here, guys, is I'm going to go ahead and take my trusty little knife and we're going to go ahead and just trim off that excess twine so it doesn't burn in the oven itself. Okay, and I'm just going to reposition this one closer on in. And we're going to do this from the center out. Okay, so we're going to start from the center too. Ooh, I might have cut these a little bit too short, it feels like, but we'll make do. Country girls make do. Okay, let's tie that up. And now let's go ahead and get that second knot, guys. I'm just adjusting my body really quickly so I can get a good angle on this. Okay, there you go. And all this is doing, again, we're just keeping the meat nice and even as it goes. Okay. So that's one. And while we're holding it nice and tight, we'll go in with the second one. Beautiful. And again, this has already been thoroughly seasoned with salt. You can also add some black pepper. I'm not doing it because it's going to be cooking in the oven. I don't want to burn it, right? But you can. It would be okay with some pepper as well. Or really any spices that you would like. As long as they're not like herb-based spices, because those do tend to burn quite early on. So guys, again, we've secured the flap. We've secured that flap, and let's go ahead and secure that last flap. Okay, last one, tie that up nice and tight, and tie that up nice and tight. Beautiful. And let's go ahead and once again, just trim off all of the remaining twine that's just hanging off by the edges, because we don't need it, and it's just going to burn in the oven, and then just like throw in a couple of fibers, and it's just not going to do anything for us. So every single last one of these, go ahead, get them done, get them processed. Would the pepper be safe? Yeah, the pepper would be fine on the inside. Although, it would just be fine. You don't have to overthink this. Because of the fact that we're doing a very slow cook at 250 degrees, Okay, and we're only going for 115 degrees internal heat. You can absolutely season the outside. Okay, guys, that's it. That's my baby boy. Look at him. He's all ready to go. Jack, inappropriate. That's too much. I don't like that. So guys, take a look. This is my chunk of meat. It's now been properly, thoroughly tied up. Really, really nice and even. We've tucked the flaps in a way. Okay. And now this is going to go into a 250-degree oven. Let me go ahead and just take off my gloves, and we'll talk about this one more time, and we'll do a little recap on this and everything that we've accomplished for the roast beef itself. And we'll wash off that paring knife. I think a moderator can take care of that, Jack. One of our moderators, Dosky, if you'd be able to help out. Okay, guys, so once again, what did we do with this piece of beef? Well, yesterday when I bought it, I dry brined it with salt. Why? To increase moisture retention, to season it thoroughly through the inside, and to slightly dry out the outside of it so that it's able to go ahead and get some nice color on it. Next, we put it onto a sheet tray so that it can once again air dry in my fridge overnight. Do you have to do this step? No, but it is ideal because that's how you get a juicy piece of beef. Then, we took a bunch of butcher twine, we folded in the flaps. Why? So that it cooks nice and even. And then we went ahead and we tied it up all the way around. Okay, nice and even all the way through. Chat, let's please stop talking about it. And then we put it back onto the same sheet tray, and it's gonna go in a 250-degree oven. I don't care how much time that you have. I don't want to see you doing roast beef at 450. I don't want to see you doing roast beef at 400 degrees or anything, guys. And the reason for this is because if you do that, what's going to happen is you're going to overcook the outside by the time that the inside is done. Okay, next rule. Do not go by time. Let me tell you something right now, everybody. Let me tell you something right now. Let me have a sip of water. Is everybody listening? Is everybody paying attention to this? Because this is going to be important. The worst thing that you can do is to cook big cuts of meat purely by time when it is not something that you've repeated over and over. I want to make sure that I have a yes chef from everybody listening. There's so many nonsense recipes that say, oh, put a roast beef in the oven for an hour. What if our roast beefs don't weigh the same? What if they don't have the same thicknesses? If you repeat something over and over, then you have like the visual cues of how much the meat buckles, the timing, and then you know the size of the meat and you can build up that intuition over time. You absolutely need, especially if you're a beginner cook, for a thick cuttish meat, is a nice temperature probe, a nice little thermometer. We're going for 115 degrees internal. I don't want to see you cook this bad boy up to 140. It's going to be dry and it's going to be tough. 115, nice and medium rare, and then we'll be finishing it on a pan to go ahead and get some color on the final product. Okay, low and slow for thick cuts of meat, hot and quick for thin ones. And so guys, I'm going to go ahead and transfer this to my 250-degree oven. I would be doing 225 if I wasn't doing this on stream, so I'm slightly rushing it. Ideally, 225 for the roast beef is pretty baller as well. So in it goes. I'm only setting a timer for an hour. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 minutes, guys. And then we'll be checking back on it in an hour. Again, that's just so that we know when to go ahead and get a temperature reading on it. One thing I did not mention was an hour before I started, cooking, I did take the meat out of the fridge. That does help it, to sort of bring it up to room temperature before we do begin cooking. Going from like a cold piece of meat to a hot oven is a little bit tricky because again, you can risk overcooking the outside. With a roast beef, especially at a low temperature at 225 or at 250, that's not that big of a risk, but it does expedite the cooking time slightly by making sure that you go ahead and you take out that roast beef out of the fridge. So guys, even though this was really, really simple, we were super intentional with a lot of our different steps and a lot of our different methodology. Can I please get a yes, chef? I want to make sure that everybody understands and everybody's listening. Okay, so the roast beef is in the oven. We'll check on it in about an hour's time. We'll give it a little temperature probe. And in the meantime, I'm just going to go ahead and quickly wash off my contaminated paring knife because we'll be needing this for a couple of things later on. My trick today is, or the goal of today is, I hope that I can get a bunch of other stuff done in the meantime before, the beef is actually done. Hopefully we won't have a lot of downtime. If we have a lot of downtime, that will be my fault. And so guys, as always, I do recommend every single one of you, if you haven't already done so, please ask me any and all cooking questions that you may have, because I am here to help you to cook at home. So John Dahlia, we're doing 115 degrees internal, and then after we take it out, we're going to be putting it on a hot pan to get a really nice color on it, to get a really nice sear on it, until it's about 125, 130 in total. Also, hello to Yoni. Hello, hello. So guys, I've washed off my paring knife, washed it off with a little bit of soap, and now let's move on to the next step, the next stage of today. I am, Ali, you ask me, do you like baking as well? I worked at a bakery for 3 years and learned so much. I'm very good at baking, but I don't love baking pastry because I don't eat sweets and it's not very ingredient focused. I love the idea of bread baking and I'd love to get into that someday because it's a lot more ingredient focused and I can focus on like buying like a really nice type of flour. So guys, we have here my cutting board ready to go for us. And now let's begin with everything else that we need to do. And we need to start by talking about the potatoes. So let me tell you something right now. You can absolutely get into the microwave cooking and think about what is the optimal kind of potato for a potato salad. Do you know why I'm using Idaho potatoes even if they're not ideal in texture for a potato salad? It's because this is what I had at home. And I needed potatoes that I needed to get rid of. Okay, and so that is the way that I want all of you cooking at home. If a recipe for something as simple as a potato salad asks that you go and buy a certain kind of potato and that you have another kind of potato at home, I would implore you to figure out how to use those potatoes first before you go out of your way to buy something else. Because the goal of cooking at home is to first and foremost always use what you have. So ideally, I would have loved a Yukon Gold potato. I would have loved a fingerling potato for this or something, right? Those would have been amazing. Idaho potatoes, they'll still be delicious. Okay, it's a potato salad. It's a potato salad. Let's get serious for a second, okay? Let's get real. We don't have to completely go into the micro of something like this. That defeats the point of what a potato salad is supposed to be. So guys, here's what's gonna happen. We're gonna peel these bad boys, especially because these are slightly older potatoes with developed eyes. We're going to have to dig out each of those eyes, and then we'll be placing them into a nice big pot full of some cool water. And the reason why we'll be putting them into a pot with water is a couple of reasons. So as you guys may know, potatoes, among other types of, similar fruits and vegetables, they do oxidize. They do oxidize. And what that means is the potatoes will turn brown. They'll turn brown when they're exposed to oxygen. And so we're making sure that whenever we peel the potato, and the potato skin is naturally protecting the inner flesh of the potato, we will be, just immediately dunking it into the cold water. Okay? And so, also another thing, especially because of the fact that we're cooking whole potatoes, we might only be cutting these in half once. We do want to make sure that we're starting off with cool water. By plunging them into hot water, same idea as cooking meat, you'll overcook the outside by the time that the inside is actually properly done or anything. And so, I'm going to just go ahead and move my keyboard ever so slightly. And I'm going to go ahead and position my pot. And as always, everybody, I have my waste bowl ready to go. So I just gave these potatoes a light little scrub. You don't really even have to scrub them if you're going to be peeling them. I just find that it's a nice thing to do sometimes. Okay, just to get off any excess soil, any excess dirt. I'm grabbing a couple of gloves because potatoes are quite starchy. And guys, while I'm actually doing the process of peeling, this is also a very good time to ask me any and all cooking questions that you may have. And so also, do you have to peel these? No, you just have to give them a really good thorough scrubbing. I just don't love the skin of an Idaho potato. I find that Idaho potato skins, they tend to be a little bit papery, okay, in a fairly unpleasant way for me. And so guys, let's go ahead and get this task done. Let's get the job done. I'm gonna go ahead and grab my little vegetable peeler. As always, if you're struggling to peel a vegetable, it is time to get a new peeler. Okay, peelers aren't really built to be sharpened or anything. These are meant to be easy tools to use. You can buy a cheap one, and then these are the kinds of things that you're throwing away as you progress throughout your cooking journey. You throw it away, you buy a new one. Carbon steel ones are really, really nice because they hold on to an edge longer. You just have to be careful that they don't rust. So guys, all I'm going to do is I'm going to go down, I'm going to use my thumb as a bit of a pivot, and I'm going down the entire length of the potato. We're using the pivot. We're not doing this technique. It's pretty inefficient and it's a lot of wasted motions. It's a lot easier for us to just simply grab the potato, nice big long strokes all the way through. And so you can see that this potato is full of eyes. And so we're going to dig out every single one of these eyes. August and Ryan, you've asked me, how do I choose side dishes for stuff? And so that's a really good question. It depends on what your intention is, August and Ryan. And so let me talk about what that actually means. Because of the fact that I'm cooking at home, and what this means is, I'm not really doing anything celebratory, I'm not really cooking for a party. Also, stolen koli, we'll get to you in just a second. We're not really, cooking for a party. We're not really cooking anything celebratory. The way that I choose side dishes is the first thing I always look at is what I have in the fridge. Because of the fact that I wanted a roast beef, I wanted to have some potatoes. I have these Idaho potatoes. And then I wanted something fresh and with a lot of herbs, and so I thought of the herb potato salad itself. So what I actually think about in terms of pairing side dishes is I need to think about what is the function of that side dish. With something like a roast beef, because of the fact that it's going to be nice and juicy on the plate, I would want something that could theoretically soak up some of like those beef juices, right? Because you cut into it, there's eventually going to be some beef juice on the plate, and it's very pleasant to have some nice warm potatoes with the roast beef. And so for that reason, I didn't want to do like a typical cold potato salad. I didn't want to do like a cold potato salad because a cold potato salad is meant to be eaten separately. And I don't really want a mayonnaise drenched salad to be the thing that is soaking up my beef juices. And so I wanted a warm potato dish. I wanted a warm potato dish that I could store in the fridge. Right? Because a potato salad is really, really nice to just have in your fridge. You can eat it lukewarm. You can eat it cold. You can eat it however you would like. Right? And so that's how I came up with this specifically. So what you're typically looking to do with side dishes is you need to think, does this have a lot of sauce? Is this sauce need to be something that is soaked up? Is this a very fatty dish? Is it very rich? Is it really heavy? If it's really fatty and rich, you typically want to have like a nice vegetable side dish of some kind to really break it up. Something nice and acidic, okay? So that's the way that I've always thought about it, at least. So guys, these are potatoes. They kind of suck. They're pretty old and they're full of eyes. And so, in a potato salad form, they would be perfect. But I wouldn't want to keep the skin on because we'd really need to get rid of a lot of the skin just to be able to get to the good parts of the potato, right? So with an old potato like this, we're peeling it. We're peeling it really generously. Okay, so stolen coil. You asked me, do I post a recipe at the end of this? And I do not. And the reason for this is because I'm very explicitly not teaching people recipes. What I want to teach people is how to understand each ingredient. I never want people to look at what I'm doing and then try to replicate it. I want you to think about the techniques that I'm doing here and take inspiration with it and then sort of adapt it to the kinds of ingredients and the kinds of tools that you have in your home kitchen setting. Also, thank you so much, Son of Ra, for this up. Thank you. So all I'm really doing here is I'm trying to teach you techniques, I'm trying to build you a toolkit, but I'm not trying to teach you any recipes. Okay. So again, we're going to go through these potatoes again. I just want to get all the peeling done. Jack, you asked me what I do with the peel of the potato. In an ideal world, I would compost it. In this case, I will just be throwing it away. So yes, it's a little bit wasteful, but I'm okay with it. I have been, I have come to the conclusion that I'm okay with that sometimes. But yeah, you can also, like, if you, like, again, thoroughly scrub the potatoes and then you peel them, you could theoretically fry them. With Idaho potatoes, I do find, again, because of how many different pockets of soil the skin ends up taking up, the skin itself isn't all that delicious. Chef, how should I properly clean fruits and vegetables? Well, that is entirely dependent on your fruit and vegetable and what you'll be doing with it. Typically speaking, though, I just, with like things like tomatoes or things like apples, I soak them in water, I give them a little scrub, and then I'm good to go. With leafy greens, I highly recommend a salad spinner. We can talk about herbs aplenty, right? With things like herbs, with things like cilantro, with things like lettuce, right? You want to make sure that you're thoroughly submerging them in cold water and doing at least a couple of passes. And the reason for that is because they have a lot of sand and they have a lot of dirt and they can sometimes have bugs. And so you basically want to give it 3 big soaks, not over a strainer, but in a bowl with water, and then pour it out. You want to give it 3 big soaks, and then I always finish it in a salad spinner. I think everybody should invest in a nice salad spinner. A salad spinner is the heart of my kitchen at this point. It keeps all of my herbs just constantly going. So guys, we're peeling up all these potatoes. I know this isn't that exciting of a task. I know this isn't all that interesting. I do apologize for this, but we got to get this done. We got to process this, right? So we're just getting the last of like the big topmost potato skin. And it's okay if there's a little bit left over. It's not the end of the world. Okay. So a little bit won't be the end of the world or anything. I just want to get rid of most of it. Ali, you can absolutely bug me as much as you would like. Again, I am here to teach you all how to cook. It doesn't have to just be about this dish. And so with potatoes, again, if I'm going to be cooking the skin in any way, I give them a really thorough scrub, right? Otherwise, I just give them a real gentle scrub, and then I peel them off. And potatoes, especially because they're covered in soil, They are grown in dirt. Man on the net asks, is there a food that I do not like? And the answer is, really, really pretentiously, no. And the reason why there isn't a single food that I don't like is because I think the only thing that I dislike are bad interpretations and bad preparations of certain ingredients. So I will like every single dish when it's done super well. Now, I have dishes that I'm pretty indifferent about. This was brought up last stream, but one of the things I'm pretty indifferent about is gazpacho. And the reason for that is because I don't think I was really conditioned or brought up to enjoy cold soups when I was younger, and so contextually it feels a little bit odd to me. It feels a little bit odd to me. It doesn't feel like the best. And so I feel like if I just ate it enough, I could get over it and start to enjoy it. But I've also never had a gazpacho that I fell in love with. But also, a lot of people have a lot of mediocre interpretations of dishes. Okay, so guys, these potatoes, again, they're old, they're a little moldy on the inside. These bad boys, they're going to need a lot of love. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this dirty plate. It has done a wonderful job. It held the potatoes for us. And now I'm going to go ahead and throw that into the dishwasher because, again, we are cooking at home, and that's what it means to cook at home. I'm also setting another pot of water to boil, and we'll talk about that wine in just a second. Okay, guys, let's move on to the paring knife stage. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to pick up every single one of these potatoes, and we're going to inspect what does this actually need. So we have a bunch of eyes to dig out. We're going to go ahead and trim this up. We're going to make diagonal incisions in like where the parts where like the potatoes seem to have gotten punctured. And take a look. It goes all the way inside. Guys, these potatoes, they do kind of suck. These are not the best potatoes. So we're going in with a paring knife. And this is why you want to have a paring knife. You want to have a nice, small, agile knife that will let you really get in there and really trim and clean things up. Okay? So again, all of these little pockets of dirt, all of these eyes, all of them, they have to go through this potato salad. They gotta go. We have no use for them. We have no purpose for them. Okay? So there you go. This one's mostly cleaned up. So anything that you see that looks like black or blue, that's all gonna have to go. Okay, so let's move on to the next one, and some are better off than others. This one, for instance, not all that amazing. Some of these eyes, they go deep, guys. So we're going in there, we're doing a bit of a twisting motion. We're not trying to completely annihilate this potato, otherwise it can and will overcook in the boiling water. Okay, so let's continue just open all of them up. And we're going in there. Beautiful. The only annoying part about my paring knife is that the blade does end up like jutting out, so I can't actually get as aggressive of a grip on it as I would like to. So a lot of paring knives, they don't have that. So again, we're going through all of this. We're cleaning all of this up, guys. It's a bit of a repetitive process. I do apologize. But I do think it's essential. And again, if you don't do this, your potatoes, you might just occasionally have like a bite that tastes a little grassy. Unrelated question, what phone do I use? I use an iPhone. Why do you ask, Jack? I don't know what model of iPhone I have specifically, though. Okay, so this looks mostly okay. We've gotten rid of most of the eyes on this. We still have a little bit left over here. And guys, you're cooking at home. Take your time. Be nice and patient with this process. Have fun with it. Okay, so again, inspecting it, I see I missed a little bit over here. Let's go ahead and dig this bad boy out. Beautiful. And last one. Okay, and let's move on to the next one. And some of them will be better off than others, guys. These blue bits, those are the ones that you really just want to be like cutting off, right? Because they could end up running pretty deep, right? Like you see, we just did that little bit of a trim, and then we've exposed this entire pocket of potato on the inside. That's all gotta go. Okay, so just clean it up, trim it off, get rid of as much of that as you possibly can. It's just not going to be a delicious potato consuming experience if we leave that inside. Every single last one of these, they've got to go. A nice sharp paring knife, nothing quite like it. Does an excellent job. Woof. Not that exciting. I do apologize for showing off like such a boring task. It is just important. Ali, you asked me, do I ever use a mandolin? Or those slap chop things, is that a bad idea? I do think a slap chop is a pretty bad idea. I mean, unless you absolutely need it as like an accessibility thing, I don't think anybody really needs a slap chop or anything. A mandolin, though, a mandolin might be good, though, for me to have, especially because there's some knife cuts that are pretty unrealistic to get consistently. Also, Resurgence Guild, welcome on in. Hope you're having a beautiful day today. The roast beef is in the oven. It's going. Yeah, I am gouging out all the eyes. We don't want them. The potatoes, they don't need to see anything. We're getting rid of every single last one of them. They don't need to know what's going to happen to them in the pot of boiling water. The horrors that they will have to endure. A little gruesome, excuse me. Okay, and let's pick up the next potato, guys. Let's go a little bit faster without trying to stab myself. Pick out every single last one of these eyes. Beautiful. Well, not all that beautiful, actually. That's that one, and that's this one. Lovely. A bit repetitive, a little bit annoying. I know, guys, I promise this is all going to be over so quick. Is everybody still watching, even through the parts of this potato, even through this annoying process? I want to hear a nice yes, chef, from everybody that's still actively tuning in and still watching and still paying attention for this. Have I made a ratatouille? I did a very, very long time ago. I'm glad that so many of you guys are here. It makes me so happy. Especially if you're doing something else, it makes me feel good that you're dropping whatever it is that you're doing to go to your computer to reply. Sorry, I'm a little toxic. I apologize. Let's go into, ooh, this is a bit of a nasty one. This guy right here, this one goes deep. Let's slice into it, and all of that one is gone. Excellent. Almost done, guys. We got a couple more potatoes to go. Hi, chef, what kind of potatoes am I using? So I'm using Idaho potatoes Eliotrope. And the reason why I'm using Idaho potatoes is because that's all I had at home today. Ideally, I love Yukon Gold potatoes for a salad. They're really, really nice and creamy. Or even something like waxy potatoes, like red potatoes or fingerling potatoes. Those are all really, really delicious. Idaho potatoes are far from my perfect choice for what is a potato salad potato. But the reason that I've chosen it, again, is purely because I want to first use what I have at home above all else. Okay, ooh, that one was deep. Oh yeah, buddy. This guy, he was down in the trenches. Okay, and let's move on to the next one. And I believe, hopefully I don't lead all of you guys on, this might be the final potato. Okay, ooh, this one's pretty messed up, guys. This one's gonna need a lot of work to get okay. Like, look at this. Oh, this entire end, this entire section, all that's gotta go. Let's go in here, let's dig this out, and let's dig this out. Let's clean that up. All right, I'm just going to get another puncture in here just to see and inspect and make sure that there's nothing else on that end of the potato itself. Okay. How we looking? We're almost done, guys. And last one. Beautiful. Okay, I do believe that we have gone through every single one of our potatoes, guys. And again, I'm not really measuring or counting the amount of potatoes I'm using today. I'm just using what I have at home and making whatever seems right. Okay, all I'm going to do, guys, is I'm just going to go ahead and cut these potatoes in half so they cook a little bit faster. Now, really important thing, I don't actually want you to be cutting these up into bite-sized pieces for the potato salad. And there's a very specific reason for this, guys. Everybody tap in. Do I have all of your attention? Potatoes, full of starch, they soak up liquid. They soak up the water that they cook in. And what happens when it soaks up the water that it cooks in is that it gets really, really bland. By increasing the surface area, if we were to cut it up even finer, we increase the surface area on the outside of the potato that gets overcooked first, and then it soaks up a whole bunch of extra liquid. So it's going to take longer for us, absolutely. Oh, whoa, what did I miss here? Okay. Even though it's going to take us a little bit longer to cook whole potatoes that have been cut in half than if we were to go ahead and chop these up, it's going to still lead into the optimal texture and the optimal flavor of the potato itself. We do not want it to soak up any excess liquid whatsoever, guys. Okay? Okay. I want to make sure that all of you have understood me and why I'm doing this. So, really, really quickly, I'm going to go ahead and now I'm just going to go just exchange the water because that water is like super, super starchy. It might just end up foaming up a bunch. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this potatoey water, and we'll just put in some nice, fresh, cool water. And it's okay if you don't get rid of all of it. It's just that, again, the potatoes are a little bit dirty. I didn't super thoroughly scrub them, so I just want to get a nice, fresh batch of water inside. So please bear with me for just a moment as I get all that done. And ready to go. And you guys, you want to make sure that the potatoes are nicely covered with at least an inch of water up above, because otherwise any exposed potatoes will not be evenly cooking. Okay, all of my potatoes have been covered. I'm gonna be bringing this up to a boil. And everybody, let's talk about my temperature one more time. So let's head to the stove. Let me show you this right now, okay? So, everybody, we are starting off these potatoes in intentionally cold water. I wanna make sure that you're all listening. I wanna make sure that you're all tapped in. It's the same exact theory as cooking thick cuts of meat. If we started off high and fast, we're going to overcook the outside of the potato, it's going to crumble up all over the place, and the inside is not gonna be done in time. We're starting it off on a nice, gentle, low heat, okay? Also, hi, I am please. I'll get to your question in just a second. And so, everybody, we're going to go ahead and thoroughly season these potatoes with a bunch of salt. Most of this salt is not actually going to penetrate into the potato itself. You're basically seasoning this the same way that you would pasta water, right? Because the majority of it is actually just going to dissipate and dissolve and be thrown away. Instead, we're just going to go ahead and over season this water to be able to compensate for it. Okay, as salty as the sea, or whatever. The salad itself is going to have seasoning, but because of the fact that we do want the potatoes to soak up some of the salt, right? We want the salt to actually properly penetrate. We want the salt to properly season the potato. So you want to add what looks like too much. And so everybody, I never want to see these potatoes aggressively boiling. I only want to see these at most at a simmer, because again, the same exact idea. We bring them up to a boil, we drop it to a simmer, we cook it gently so the outside of the potato does not overcook. That is even more important with such thick pieces of potato. These are not thin, teeny, tiny baby potatoes, guys, okay? These are thick boys. They take a while to cook. So we bring it up to a boil just so that we have a good idea of where the temperature is at, just so we have a good idea where the heat is at. And we're gonna go ahead and slap a lid on it. We'll get that water nice and heated. Does anybody have any questions for me at the moment? I'm just going to go ahead and take a second and dump out my waste bowl, and then we'll move on and proceed with everything else that we need to do for today. My roast beef has already been in the oven for 23 minutes. That was 23 minutes of potato peeling and prep. The roast beef is going, the potatoes are boiling. We don't want the potatoes, oh, I forgot something. I forgot one thing. There was one thing that I really wanted to mention. Everybody, let's talk about starches and let's talk about their ability to retain and hold their texture. So this is actually something that I picked up from Serious Eats. Everybody tap in right now. Whenever you add something acidic, oh, that's my other pot of water that's boiling and ready to go. We'll get to him in just a second. Whenever you have something that is acidic, cooking alongside the potatoes, that actually helps them to be a little bit more firm. When you cook them with something that is alkaline or basic, the potatoes tend to crumble up a little bit more. And so this is applied with, like the Serious Eats roasted potatoes, where they add in a little bit of baking soda into the water itself. It makes the outside of the potato a little bit more crumbly, and then those crumbly bits get really nice and crispy. That's not what we're looking for out of the potato salad. We're looking for the potato salad, the potatoes in it to stay, somewhat nice and firm. We don't want them to be crunchy, of course, but we don't want them to immediately turn into mashed potatoes. And so what will help with that is just simply one little tiny glug of vinegar, maybe 2 glugs. I'm using apple cider. You can just probably use white distilled for, maximum flavor purity reasons. But I promise you, that little teeny tiny bit of apple cider vinegar, that little tiny bit of acidity will do an excellent job with making sure that the potatoes don't fall apart too much. Okay, so again, we're heating this up nice and gentle. We're adding in the vinegar as well. And now we're bringing this bad boy up to a boil. So I'm going to go ahead and slap a lid on it, and then I will need to clean off my station really quickly before we move on into the next step. Does anybody have any questions for me? Lemon juice would also work, yes. Just the issue with lemon juice is, first of all, it's more expensive. Significantly more expensive than something like vinegar is. And then the second issue with lemon juice is that its acidity does vary depending on the lemon itself, depending on the season, depending on the varietal of it. They get a little bit inconsistent from time to time. So you can use a lemon juice, or a lemon, excuse me. It just seems a little unnecessary. That's all. So I'm wiping off my potato water saturated cutting board. Alyssa and Ryan, I'm glad that this has been cool. I apologize for such we're not really doing that much today. I probably could have planned one more thing. If we have extra time, we'll do like a chimichurri for fun as well. I think that could be fun, just like to eat alongside this roast beef. I'm glad you've been enjoying it. And also, everybody, if you haven't already done so, check out my Patreon, !Patreon. I'd love to be able to do this full time one day, and any and all support there is really appreciated. Okay. And I'm going to flip my cutting board over. And now we'll move on to the rest of the components for my potato salad. And so, guys, this is going to be pretty exciting. I'm pretty excited about this step. And so we'll talk about why in a second. So I love an excess amount of herbs in my potato salad. I want it to be absolutely saturated with herbs. And so again, the herbs of choice that I'm using for today, okay, I'm using some lovely fresh cilantro and some lovely fresh dill because I cook with it all the time. And these are both excellent to have in the fridge. I encourage you to just use whatever herbs look the freshest at your local grocery store. You're looking for soft herbs, cilantro, parsley, dill, tarragon, mint, those kinds of things. Basil. You're looking for them to be fresh, and then you're also just looking for whatever is most affordable to you in the moment. My dill, here it was a couple dollars cheaper than it typically is. The cilantro is always really, really nice and cheap in my area. And so I cook with cilantro all the time. I cook with dill all the time. So that's the reason why I'm using this. And I'm also trying to evoke, sort of the potatoes that I grew up eating, which was, the boiled potatoes with the garlic and the butter and the dill. Okay, and so that's why I'm using these. You can absolutely buy both of these, but I would just simply buy whatever are the best soft herbs actually available to you. And we're going to be doing these herbs two ways. And so this is something that I'm really excited to talk about because we'll be doing something that is a little bit new for us on the stream. Okay, so we'll be, of course, slicing up a bunch of it and putting it into the salad itself, but that's not enough herb. I want to actually blend it down and also put it into a dressing. So can somebody in chat, does somebody here know? Okay, I'm curious if somebody knows. Does anybody here know the problem with making herb-based dressings? Does anybody know the problem with making herb-based dressings in a blender? Does anybody know the issue? I would love it if somebody does. We'll talk about this in a second, and we'll talk about a way to actually work around it. Blender hot, almost Natalie, you almost got it. Jack, they get sour. Almost on the right track. Okay, here's the thing. Herbs, when you crush those cells, and we talk about slicing and slicing gently and keeping them nice and intact all the time. Yes, Cloud9, you got it. It loses flavor. And we'll talk about why. When you crush your herbs, when you smash them, for a few minutes, they're really nice and delicious and fresh. You hold them any longer, and it starts to oxidize. It starts to turn brown. And when that happens, it starts to lose its flavor. That is a really huge issue with making, I know I'm sounding so morbid right now. I'm being really dramatic about this, but I do think this is important. When you do herbs like this, right? When you put it directly into a blender, it turns brown, it loses its flavor, especially if it sits in the fridge a little bit. So we're going to blanch some of the herbs first. We're going to do the thing that everybody says don't do. We're going to first dunk them into boiling water. Now, what does this actually do? Great question. I believe something denaturing an enzyme within the herb itself. But point is, when you blanch the herb by plunging it into boiling water for just a few seconds and then taking it out, that herb, although it lost a little bit of flavor in that cooking process, has suddenly become a lot more stable. When you crush it, when you blend it up, it will continue to stay nice and vibrant and bright green, instead of actually oxidizing, turning brown, and subsequently losing its flavor when you end up crushing it or blending it. Blending is such an aggressive motion because all of these herbs, all of them, they just get pureed into nothingness. We're gonna dunk it in boiling water, shock it in cold water, stop it from overcooking. Just a few seconds of blanching, in my mind, will lead us to have the most flavorful and impossibly herbaceous dressing imaginable. Okay, and so we will go ahead and do two separate bundles of herbs. Finely sliced herbs so that you can feel it in the salad, and then some of it permeating the entirety of the dressing as well. Okay, so I really want to do herbs two ways for today, guys. Okay, and so we'll talk about blanching. We'll talk about what we actually need to do to set that up in just a moment. Let's head back over here. I apologize for this long extended rant. This isn't something I've done in a while because I was like, it's too much effort. I actually think that this would be a really nice way to use up some herbs, and I want to have a lot. Guys, I want this to be an herb-packed dressing. Look at how much cilantro I'm planning on using. Look at how much dill I'm planning on using. Okay, that is the actual quantities that I'm going for today. And none of this is going to be the herbs that'll be actually sliced into the salad portion itself. Okay, this is all purely at the moment for blanching purposes. Because as you guys may have noticed, also August and Ryan, thank you so much for the sub. As you guys may have noticed, Whenever you blanch things like spinach, they lose a ridiculous amount of volume. Same exact thing is going to happen here. Once we hit this with a little bit of heat, it's going to lose so much of this volume, and all of this is going to just become one little teeny tiny ball. Okay? Jack, you've asked me, what do I think of black dyed foods with food color or charcoal? I think it's kind of pointless. That's all. In fact, there was like a whole study done about like charcoal actually potentially being an anti-nutrient in regards to the fact that it binds to other things and so forth. I just think it's fine. It's just not something I'm particularly interested in. The only kinds of ingredients that I add to things would be for taste and for flavor and not really color. Is that why we blanch shredded cabbage for coleslaws? Yes, but when I do my coleslaws, I don't blanch it, I embrace. That's why I process it with salt, which is a similar motion. Should I buy a stainless steel saute pan? Is it worth over a Teflon? Absolutely, TC Brady. Absolutely. 100% you need it. Everybody needs at least a couple of stainless steel saute pans. Now, the actual money that you're spending is really dependent on what you're buying. But we'll get to that in just a second. So guys, the only thing that I'm going to do with these herbs, these are my blanching herbs. I'm just going to go ahead and just take a knife and I'm just going to just cut them in half just once. We're going to keep all of the stems uncharacteristically because, again, it's all going to be blended down. Typically speaking, in a raw setting, I don't love the texture of the stems themselves. So MRQ returns. The reason why the Israel-Palestine ceasefire was vetoed by China and Russia was because even though it was branded as a ceasefire, I believe there was like an exception clause in there, and there was ambiguous language that would still allow Israel to invade Rafah. I'm pretty sure that's why it was vetoed. I saw a couple of people smarter and more educated than I talking about it. And so, I would recommend Google. And so I've heard about it, and that's the beginning and the end of my thoughts on that specifically in terms of like why it got, that is my understanding of why it specifically got vetoed. Okay guys, so a bunch of my dill, a bunch of my cilantro right here. Okay, and I'm just going to go ahead and just cut this down to size. Again, we don't have to be super thorough about like slicing this or whatever. We're just doing this so it's a little bit easier to manage for ourselves. So what is blanching? Blanching is the process of taking something and putting it immediately into boiling water. In this case, we're looking to denature the enzymes, as they say, but it's going to go ahead and make sure that the herbs stay nice and stable when we blend it down. They won't oxidize or anything. And I'm also going to go ahead and set up an ice bath. This is a really, really important step, guys. So let's go ahead. I have like these really, really cool blocks of ice. Okay. I have these massive, massive blocks of ice. And these are just going to go directly into my bowl. And the reason for this is because, imagine, look at the texture of these herbs. If we plunge these directly into boiling water and take them out and put them on a plate, they're still going to be holding on to hot water and they're going to overcook in the time that they sit. By plunging them directly into ice water, we're shocking it. We're shocking it and we're stopping it from continuing to overcook. Also, Canadian Panda 67, thank you so much for the Prime sub. Thank you, thank you. We have a hype train. Oh my goodness. So, I don't have ice cubes. I just have these ridiculous, massive blocks of ice, which are admittedly pretty inconvenient. I don't know why my mom bought this. But yes, I'm okay. I hope that was a sufficient answer for you. Also, John Dahlia, thank you so much for the sub. Thank you, thank you. 3 months already. John Dahlia, I remember when it was your first time here. And so guys, again, this step of the ice bath, I do consider it quite imperative for making sure that things like spinach don't overcook. The problem with overcooking it is that they start losing all of their flavor in the water. And so we're only going to really need it there for 15 seconds. So guys, I'm preparing the ice bath. I'm just going to go ahead and fill this up with some nice cold water, right for my tap, right for my sink. Okay, and let's go ahead and get everything set up on the stove for us at the moment. Everybody ready for this? Okay, so first things first, the potatoes are on this pot still, right? It's not quite there yet, but we just need to switch off the burners because I would love to be able to show this process off for you. Okay, so here's what we're going to go ahead and do. The handles on this pot are really, really hot. So I'm going to just go ahead and move that around slightly. Right, just take that and we'll just move that aside for a second. And I'm going to go ahead and take this other pot and we'll put that onto the heat. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and take my big pot of potatoes and return that to the heat once more. Okay, so everybody, In order to blanch things effectively, the first thing that you're of course going to need is boiling water. We're not really going to worry about salting this water. We don't really need to salt the herbs because they're going to be blended down into a dressing anyways. The most important tools, number one, Mr. Ice Bath. Everybody say hello to Mr. Ice Bath. It's good to see him. And the second most important tool is this thing. It's the spider. Also, Allie, the roast has been in there for 35 minutes. We're soon going to get a temperature reading on it. In fact, I would want to flip it over just to make sure it's evenly cooking. So this is called a spider. I really recommend, this is something that more and more home cooks, especially Western home cooks, are beginning to invest in. The reason why you should invest in this is because it's super easy to use. When we use tongs, so think about something like tongs, and we want to go ahead and we want to fish out the herbs. We're not going to get everything in one pass. And herbs are going to stay in the water and they're going to overcook and lose all of their flavor. The beauty of a spider, the beauty of the strainer on a stick, is that we get to get everything out in one big sweeping motion. And so everybody, this blanching process, at absolute most, I want it to take 10 to 15 seconds or so. So I'm going to grab all of my herbs in a nice, big, beautiful bundle. Okay, and again, we're not chopping them, so again, we can just easily fish them out. And I'm just throwing this in here for 10 seconds. 10 to 15 seconds at most. Okay, it's already been in there for 5. Okay, that's 10 seconds in total. And out they go. Out they go. All of the herbs in one big, sweeping, beautiful motion. Done. And done. And into the ice water, plunge it, break up that texture. Let's get the last few remaining ones. And that is the beauty, that is the magic, guys, of a spider. With the use of a spider, we're able to go ahead and just take everything out before it all overcooks. Okay? The water turned a little bit green. That's all the different, herbs that have sort of stayed in there. But you'll know that you would have overcooked all of your herbs and they would have lost a bunch of flavor had you, the water just turned completely like dark green or something. Okay, so that's done. The herbs have done a wonderful job. They're just cooling off in this ice water now, guys. They're cooling off, and soon we will be ready to go ahead and make a beautiful dressing out of them. Everybody, please say thank you to Mr. Blanching Pot. I know we have I'm saying a lot of things on stream lately. Oh my goodness. So that is how fast you need to go. I set a stopwatch on my phone to remind me what 10 seconds looks like. Most people, 10 seconds goes by a lot faster than they actually think it does, right? And so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this pot of water, and let's just go ahead and get the potatoes back onto the heat, guys. It's almost up at an aggressive boil, and then we'll just drop it down to a simmer and let it cook nice and gentle. And I'm going to go ahead and take all of my lovely blanched herbs, and we're going to go ahead and set them aside because soon we will be making a really, really beautiful creamy dressing out of all of it, and it's going to be amazing. So the potatoes are going. Once the potatoes have been brought up to a nice big boil, they'll drop down to a simmer, and we're going to cook them for roughly, 15 to 20 minutes, depending on how thick they are, depending on how big they are. The way that we'll be testing them is by just poking them with something and seeing how easily all of it slides in. And so, guys, here is the beauty of blanched herbs. Now, we have acquired a much more stable product. Is this as flavorful as it would be if it was entirely fresh? No, but it is stable. Look how much volume we ended up losing from this. So what is the function? What is the beauty of this? Now, let's say you have a bunch of herbs that are, that you're not going to use all of them. You blanch them in advance, you can freeze them. You blanch them, you can keep them in the fridge a little bit longer. You blanch them, especially things like basil, you get to make a really beautiful pesto without needing to necessarily worry about the pesto turning brown and oxidizing or anything. So while we sacrifice a little bit of flavor now, we end up saving flavor in the long run. You don't need to blanch herbs if this is going to be a salad that you're eating immediately. We're going to be slicing up a bunch of herbs for the salad as well. And now these bad boys, they've chilled out. You can see they're nice and bright green. Right? They're nice and dark green. They're not brown. You'll know if they're overcooked if they start to turn brown, if the water starts to turn significantly green, but it's not. Okay, and we're just letting those guys chill out, and then we'll be building a dressing with them shortly after. So let's go ahead and set this aside. So let's think about what else we can be doing in the meantime. Let's start actually building the components for the dressing. I think that would be fun for us to do. Okay, so here's what's going to happen. We are going to start off with the lemon. This is Mrs. Lemon, and we're going to get every last drop of flavor out of this lemon. We're going to be getting both the juice, and we're also going to be getting the zest of the lemon. So number one mistake that you can make, guys, don't cut this in half until you're ready to juice it. If you're zesting the lemon, you want to go ahead and keep the lemon nice and intact. So we are going to go ahead and zest it up into a bowl. And so the lemon zest itself is where all of the aroma of the lemon is stored. We're not going to roll it because we'll be using a citrus press, and we'll talk about why we're using a citrus press in a moment as well. Guys, the lemon zest is where there is, like you smell it now, you just give it a little rub, and then just the aroma is so much stronger. The lemon juice itself is mostly acidic, it's a little bit sweet, it has a little bit of those citrusy notes, but really the beauty and the flavor of a lemon is all in the zest. Now, you don't want any of the white part. You don't want any of the pith. You just want the zest portion, guys. And so, this is my microplane. All that we're doing, we're not moving the citrus. We're using the microplane almost like we are a peeler, and we're peeling off the outside rotation, peeling off the outside rotation. And as a result, we're getting all of this incredibly aromatic lemon zest. How much am I using? I don't know. I'm just going to juice up an entire lemon, and then we'll see and go from there, okay? You'll get your first apprentice, John Dahlia. John, I'm so excited for you. I'm so happy for you. But I was talking about this with a friend recently, by the way, that chefs are like basically begging for apprentices. They love having one. They love teaching somebody. And so my number one advice would be, when it comes to teaching somebody, my number one thing is really making sure that they understand and they build the feel. Above all else, you don't just want to teach them how to do something, you want them to understand every single last little bit of why they're doing something. And if you find you can't explain why you're doing something, it's time for you to go ahead and do some homework. And it would actually be very productive for the both of you, because then you'll be stimulated and pressured on your own knowledge and your own understanding of things. Guys, I'm going to go ahead and just lift up this lid on the potatoes because they're now boiling aggressively. We're going to lift it up, release a bunch of steam, and you see how aggressively it's boiling? Drop it to a simmer. We don't need that much heat, guys. We don't need it to be that aggressively boiling. If it's that aggressively boiling, all that's going to happen is the potatoes can and will overcook. Okay, so we're just letting it go. We're letting it do its thing now. We're dropping that bad boy down to a simmer, and we're just letting it cook. In total, maybe like 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, depending on the width of it. So John Dahlia, I'm very happy for you. Having an apprentice is an amazing thing. That's what you think about, everybody that's watching the stream. I love teaching people. I love being able to impart my cooking information and knowledge that I built up over the years. Because what's the point of getting good at something if you're unable to impact others with that thing or to share it with other people? There is absolutely no point to doing that thing, because then it lives and dies with you. One of the best things that somebody who's good at something can do is to try to pass it on to somebody else. Okay, guys, so we've got this lovely lemon all zested up. And again, we didn't go into the white part because that's where all the bitterness is. And the lemon zest itself is a little bit bitter, but it's super aromatic. Oh, you just smell it, it's citrusy, it just hits you right out of the gate, guys. It is incredible. And now, we'll be using my favorite tool, the citrus press. I love this. Why? I have weak hands. I have really good forearm strength, but for whatever reason, I really struggle with juicing lemons. I don't have particularly massive hands, and so getting a grip on it to really juice it is quite difficult. Second of all, I have eczema, and the last thing that I want is to, constantly be getting my hands covered in acidic lemon juice. So I think everybody should invest in the citrus press, and it's a lot more efficient than if you were to also be juicing by hand, Okay, you get a lot more juice out of it. So, number one rule, always, Mr. Lemon, face down. Face down, other end up, okay? You don't want to go ahead and you don't want to do this, right? Because then it's just going to splash all over the place. Thoughts on a citrus peeler? Trash can cat mom, if you need it all the time, then I would get a citrus peeler. Right? I don't ever really have a use for one, so I wouldn't buy one. It's entirely dependent on the needs of your own kitchen. And so guys, I'm making sure that my potato water, it is just staying at a very gentle bubble, at a very gentle simmer. But we never want it to be boiling, okay? And now, nice big press all the way down. This is the KitchenAid one. It's nice because it's tabletop. And we're squeezing it down, guys, and we're getting all of that delicious lemon juice inside. But yeah, I think everybody should get a citrus press. This is the kind of a tool that everybody universally would benefit from having in their home kitchen, okay? And also, after we do this, I do think it would be a good time for us to check out how the beef is doing. Ooh, okay, I need to stop slipping it. I need to actually hold it down. That was the second time that happened. Hold it down, and then give it a nice big squeeze. There you go. That's the second time I did that. my apologies, and all the lemon juice goes inside. And guys, one of the biggest mistakes, don't cut it in half before you zest it. Zest it first. It makes a world of a difference. It might seem obvious, but I've made that mistake plenty of times in the past. So that's all the lemon juice that we're going to need. We're infusing it with the zest. And it's nice to get the zest into something liquidy, like the lemon juice, because that way it just easily distributes. If you put the lemon zest directly on a plate, it sticks to the plate, and then it's quite difficult for us to get off. So we're just really respecting the, structure, I suppose, of the lemon zest itself. Okay, so guys, we're going to go ahead and we're going to just take the beef out just so that we can get a nice little temperature probe on it. Okay, I'm going to just once again move around the potatoes. I know they're traveling all over the place today. I'm going to move them around, get them off of this one right here, just to make sure that I have space for Mr. Roast Beef. Okay, and let's go ahead and take the roast beef out, and we're going to get a little temperature check on it. So what am I looking for at this point? I'm really looking for like 90 degrees internal heat. Right now, 90 to 100. We want to pull it out when it's at 115, okay? So let's go ahead and take out the roast beef. Looking good. Okay. And it doesn't look all that different from when it was raw. I know, and that's kind of the point. That's because we're cooking it low and slow, guys. By cooking it low and slow, we're ensuring that it does cook evenly. And so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this over. Also, Son of Raw, thank you for stopping by. It was lovely having you. And we're just going to quickly unstick it because it's a little stuck at the bottom, and I'm gonna flip it over, and as you can see, it's completely raw on that side. Wow, that's why we give it a little flip. We give it a little flip, and again, I'm really looking for this at this stage to be like, I don't know, maybe like 90 inside at the moment. Oh yeah, I can already tell you, that bad boy is nowhere close. Yep, nowhere close at all, guys. It's going to need quite some more time. So let's go ahead and take it and put it back into the oven. 115, and we flipped it over again to ensure that it's evenly cooking. Having it on a nice flat tray like this, though, a nice like sheet tray, excuse me, does ensure that we're getting some amount of airflow under it. Okay, let's continue building the dressing for the potato salad, okay? So the potatoes are cooking, they're boiling behind me. In fact, I'm just going to go ahead and put that back onto this burner. I'm getting kind of annoyed with moving it back and forth, but anything for a good show, I suppose. And again, it's going to need quite some time, guys, because these are big, thick chunks of potato here. Okay, so let's keep moving on. Let's figure out everything else that I'm going to need for the dressing. I am going to want some garlic. Because of the fact that we'll be blending the garlic in with the lemon juice, we're actually going to be neutralizing its ability to become pungent. This was something that was studied. This was something that was shown that, the more that you process and the more that you crush and the more that you mince and chop garlic, the more pungent it ends up getting. So that you would think in a blended form, it would be really intense. It would be really, pungent. By blending it alongside the lemon juice, we actually, in an acidic environment, that allicin, the actual compound that is responsible for the pungency of garlic, it's mitigated significantly. Okay? And so all I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to go ahead and just take it out of the skin. But what I really want to do, let me tell you, here's my idea. I want to basically do garlic two ways. I want to have some that are blended into my dressing, and then I also want to have some garlic that is then just like one clove that is raw and crushed into the potatoes. And so the idea is I want to have some of that pungency develop, and then I also want like those sweet flavors, the sweet garlicky flavors inside of the dressing itself. I think that would be really exciting. What do you guys think of that? I think it'd be super cool. And so let's see if we're actually successful with it. So I'm going to start with these, garlic cloves right here. I'm just going to give them a slight tap, a slight press with my bench scraper. And I'm doing this purely so that we can peel the skin off. We're not looking to, again, smash them into oblivion because we are producing allicin by crushing it, and we're not looking for much of this pungency. I'm just doing this so that we can easily peel off the skins. The traditional way is, you would use like a paring knife like this, and then you would get in the, we still need to cut off the butts of the garlic anyways, so that does need to happen. But again, I'm being very gentle to sort of keep the garlic clove intact for today. Okay, so rip off the skin as much as it lets us do. Today's a really, really chill stream. Today's really simple, guys. Right, nothing is too new, except, I'm just blanching the herbs. I'm just showing off all these different techniques. Let's see, am I going to be able to peel that off? Yes, that's one garlic clove finally peeled. And again, it's taking so long because I'm minimizing crushing. I'm minimizing crushing because I want all of this garlic to just go into the blender and stay nice and pure. Found some garlic that was growing a sprout. Garlic and onions do that. Garlic and onions both do that, especially if you leave them along just long enough by themselves. They start desperately looking to spread themselves, I suppose. Okay, and let's cut off this butt end. And again, we don't want these like dried off butt ends of the garlic. It's not going to be that pleasant for us to eat. Okay, and we're just about done. That's all my garlic cloves nice and peeled. And the beauty of having a bench scraper, as always, is that you can just go in here and you can easily clean up your station. So guys, while my potatoes are going, I am now going to go ahead and test one of them out. I'm looking for my knife to slide in easily. I'm looking for my knife to just slide in easily, but I'm not looking for my potato to look like it's crumbling and falling apart on the outside. They've been going for at least 10 minutes. I can already tell you that they're underdone. But we'll just give it a shot anyways, okay? Just so that we can build up a feel. This is what it means to build up a feel in the kitchen. This is how we test for the doneness of the potato. The acidity, the apple cider vinegar, stops it from overcooking on the outside, and we slide it in, and we're getting a lot of resistance as we get to the center of it. Let's take another one, we put it in, and a lot of resistance. So that is at least 10 minutes away, if not more, from being, complete and ready for us to go. And we want to keep cooking it gently. Don't just turn up the heat. Don't do anything crazy. Don't do anything rash. Okay, we're going to just stay nice and patient. Everybody, are we being patient today? I want to hear a nice yes, chef, please and thank you. So here's my garlic cloves, my lemon zest, my lemon juice. I have all of my lovely blanched herbs as well, ready to go for us. And what I was also thinking is I think I kind of want some Parmesan in my dressing, or at least I want some Parmesan in the salad. Because I just have Parmesan in my fridge, and why not? Parmesan potatoes, you can't really go all that wrong, can you? So here's what we're going to do. The herbs have thoroughly cooled down. We're going to go ahead and just squeeze out some of the excess liquid from them, and we're going to start building our blender cup. Okay, so I'm using my Ninja Bullet, my NutriBullet, whatever. It's not an amazing blender, but it's going to do an okay job for us today. So let's go ahead and get my garlic cloves and my lemon zest and my lemon juice. Get all of that inside. Oh yeah, no, the Parmesan is going to be an excellent move, in fact. I'm just thinking, do I want Parmesan inside the salad? Do I want it in the dressing? There's a part of me that does just want it blended up in the dressing, but I'm afraid of making it too thick at this stage. Okay guys, so let's go ahead and let's squeeze out the liquid. Let's squeeze out the liquid. That'll be great. John Dahlia, I would love a Vitamix. I put it on my wish list, exclamation mark wish list. So if somebody has, I don't know, $700, it's a good investment, let me tell you. So guys, all I'm gonna do, and we're not gonna squeeze this too hard, okay? We don't wanna lose too much of that flavor from the herbs. And you can see how much of it has actually reduced in volume, the same exact way that spinach does. Now, we're not gonna go too crazy with this. Again, if we go too crazy with this, we'll end up losing some of the actual flavor itself. But just get rid of some of that liquid when you can, and into my blender cup it goes. I'm going to go ahead and just take a little bundle at a time. We're not going to waste any of these herbs. They've done a wonderful job. They got blanched for us, and now they will become the most incredible dressing. Even I gotta stop talking like Gordon Ramsay. The most incredible, yeah. Now this is not a baby bird. We're not being gentle with it. This guy is getting blended today. Okay, this is an adult bird. Adult birds get blended. Baby birds get sliced. Hope this helps. And guys, we're just squeezing out that liquid, and we're not being too harsh with it. We're not being too aggressive. Let's get that into my blender cup as well. A little bit of liquid will be nice to also like thin out the dressing itself, okay? Because we have a lot of lemon juice in there. We're gonna have a lot of olive oil. We want to kind of cut that flavor. And so I've decided I don't think I actually want Parmesan in the dressing itself. I'm just gonna fold in a bunch of Parmesan throughout the salad portion. Okay, and we might use that bowl for something else later on, so I'm not going to get rid of it quite yet. Okay, let's talk about what else we actually want to go into this dressing. We're going to go ahead and get a big hit of salt, because guys, we have to have a nice seasoned dressing after all. This is going to be the seasoning to the salad. Nice big hit of salt, a bunch of black pepper inside, And then the base of it is going to be olive oil and mustard. And the mustard is going to, and I hate saying emulsify, but the mustard is an emulsifier. The mustard is going to make sure that the oils don't separate too much, that everything stays nicely and beautifully together. Okay, as will the garlic. The garlic, the mustard, they'll all accomplish this task quite well. I should have probably just blended the garlic and the lemon juice by itself first, and then added in the oil. And I think that's actually still what I'm going to do. I want to ensure that the garlic is actually blending with things that are acidic before we do the oil, so that we don't get too much of the pungency from the garlic portion itself. Okay. There we go, my blender cup is ready to go. Normally, I would blend over on the stove. That is not currently an option for me. It is a very weak emulsifier. It is. But, you know, we have 3 cloves of garlic in there. It's actually going to help out at least a little bit, right? Okay, I would love if I had an outlet long enough. Am I going to blend this off the heat? Yeah, guys, I'm going to have to probably blend this. No, I want to show you all the blending process, okay? I want to make sure that you guys are seeing the process of it blending. So let's go ahead and we're going to keep moving the potatoes. We're going to go ahead and put the potatoes back onto the stove yet again, because that is the only camera angle that I have actually available where we could see anything reasonable. Okay. Let's go ahead and turn that off the heat. Let's go turn this on the heat. And let's go ahead and transfer the potatoes once more. They're sick of it at this point. They don't want to keep getting moved around. I know. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, baby. It has to happen. It must be done. We have to blend, chat. We do have to blend. Okay, so I'm blending everything first, and then I'm going to be adding in the olive oil and the mustard. And the reason for this is because I do want to ensure that the garlic is blending with the lemon juice, because we need that acidity to prevent the actual, you know, Allison itself. Okay, was that another camera glitch? Also, 1,000 bits. Jestilence, thank you so much. That's huge. Thank you so much. That's really, really sweet of you. Okay, I'm going to get my blending station set up here. Hopefully this doesn't char and burn my cutting board. It'll be chill. It'll be fine. Nothing's going to happen to it, right, guys? Okay, and now I'm going to go ahead and just move my blender on over. Yeah, it's fine. This bad boy has insulated so many different things for me in the past. Okay, blender on. And now, guys, let's go ahead and get this bad boy right inside and nicely blend it up. And it's all too thick. We have too many solids. I should have waited before I added the herbs inside. So we're just going to give the whole thing a nice big proper sloshing and blend it again. And it's going to become a beautiful dressing. Just be patient. Oh, it's blending today. Okay, yeah, it's a little bit thick in there. It's a little too thick, but that's okay. So I'm going to just go ahead and take this cutting board off the heat so it doesn't, you know, burn in the meantime. And let's go ahead and just add in the oil and the rest of the ingredients. Okay. Let's add in the oil, let's add in the mustard, and we're going to give that yet again another beautiful proper blending. And so we need a bunch of oil. The universal ratio, I mean, again, it's entirely up to you. You typically want like 3 parts oil to 1 part acid. That's sort of the ratio that a lot of people are kind of used to. But you can add in as much or as little as you would like. But I'm looking for really creamy dressing. I'm looking for a bunch of oil. So flooding it, absolutely, utterly flooding it with olive oil, guys. We're going to make a big batch of potato salad, so we need a bunch of oil. How much am I using? I don't know. We will literally be able to taste it. We'll be able to taste it, and then we'll be able to decide, do we actually physically want more oil inside? Okay? And then, guys, let's go ahead and get a couple of nice spoons of the dressing, of the mustard, excuse me. I'm using some Dijon mustard today because that's what I have at home. Ideally, I love whole grain mustard. So I'm just going to get nice 1 big spoon inside because Dijon can be quite strong. And I'm just going to rinse the spoon off before it dries. And let's also go ahead and get that bad boy nicely and beautifully blended up for us. So let's go ahead and cap that off yet again. And now is when this becomes an actual proper dressing, guys. Okay, so let's head back over here. And let's go ahead and set up my cutting board again, who's been doing a really wonderful job for us. Okay, and let's blend. And now is the time it becomes a dressing, and we get to blend it Everybody, we get to thoroughly blend it because we blanch the herbs. Because of the fact that we blanched it, the herbs are able to be blended and crushed all the way into oblivion. Also, Dee, thank you for stopping by. It was lovely having you. Now, normally, if you wanted to do fresh herbs, you have to worry about, over blending this, and it's still going to turn brown anyways. The beauty of blanching these herbs first is we get to retain as much of that flavor as possible, even if we're crushing and decimating and destroying it. So we keep it going. We keep it going, everybody. Gorgeous. The only thing we don't want to do, we just don't want to significantly heat this up. So just feel the outside of the blender. Yeah, that is a gorgeous green color. That is beautiful. Okay? Give it one last shake just to make sure that everything is getting processed. Okay? And that should be good. Everybody, my dressing is now complete. That is it. That's how you build that dressing. And so the last thing that we'll be doing is we'll be tasting and we'll be adjusting for seasoning. I want to go ahead and give my potatoes another test because I think my potatoes might be done now. So let's go ahead and just transfer the potatoes again once more back onto this bad boy. There we go. And let's go ahead and give it the old knife test. So again, the acidic water really makes sure that it doesn't fall apart completely. And guys, the potatoes are now completely tender all the way through. Yep, no resistance whatsoever. My knife just slides on in. Actually, there's a little bit of resistance towards the center of it. Nope, it's perfect. I think these potatoes are done, guys. I'm going to give it one last poke. Yeah, that's it. These potatoes are done. So I'm going to go ahead and just... Natalie, that wasn't very good. Natalie, that wasn't funny. I'm going to go ahead and just get these guys dumped out into the sink in a colander. And there's a reason for this. We're going to make sure that we're steam drying the potatoes. Guys, avoid the urge to run these potatoes over with cool water. Don't run them over with cool water because the goal is to get them to, of course, properly steam dry. When we steam dry them, we get rid of that excess moisture as it evaporates in, of course, the form of steam. So I'm going to go ahead and just get a nice colander set up in my sink. Jack, I've never played a full thing of D&D. I've only been, a little sub in character a couple times. Just got thrown in. Okay, guys, and I'm going to go ahead and take all of this boiling water, all of these potatoes ready to go, and we're going to gently pour it off into a colander and let that thing steam dry. There you go. All the potatoes done. All of them done. All of them out of there. Excellent. And now... I'm just shaking off any of the excess liquid in my sink. I apologize for stepping away for a moment. Everybody, the potatoes are done. We made the dressing. Whew. We're doing a lot today. Today's we're turning up a little bit now, right? In the beginning, I was like worried about we're not doing enough. Now I feel like we have plenty of tasks for us to actually get done. The steam drying component, guys. This step is essential. I will not let you neglect this step. You're not adding these potatoes into the salad immediately because they're warm and they're hot, and you don't want a hot potato salad. We want a warm potato salad. So there we go. Beautiful. So take a look. These are my potatoes. They do smell very slightly of the apple cider vinegar that we added on in, but that's totally okay. And that little bit of acidity, you can see they're kind of crumbling on the outside. It's a thick potato. It takes a long time to cook. It's totally okay. It happens sometimes. We're just letting it steam dry. We're letting it steam dry. We're letting it drip dry. We'll occasionally give them a little bit of a rotation, and we're going to get them cool enough that you and I can properly handle them. These are Idaho potatoes, Canadian Panda. Again, not ideal, but these are the ones that I had at home, and thus they will be made into today's potato salad. And I will simply set that behind me, let that go, let that thing do its thing. Okay? And that's it. That's all that we need to do for the potatoes. Let's go ahead and inspect the dressing. Let's take a look. So look at this thing. Beautiful, vibrant green. And let's go ahead and give it a little taste, okay? I'm just going to go in there, and it's supposed to be too intense. The potatoes are going to do a good job of soaking it up. Guys, look at this dressing. Oh my God. Did you guys see how much garlic we added? 3 cloves of raw garlic. You know what that doesn't taste like? Raw pungent garlic. That dill immediately hits me in the face. That lemon immediately hits me in the face. That is an incredible dressing. Everybody, I want to make sure that all of you understand. Tap it right now. Tap it. I want to hear a nice yes, chef, from everybody watching. Blanch your herbs. Blanch them if you're making a dressing. I wasn't doing this in the past. I was messing up. It was suboptimal. So we've changed our ways. We have improved over time. This dressing now is not just going to be delicious today. Sure, you could have done it with completely raw herbs and have blended it up. But guess what? This is a potato salad. This is a potato salad. It would have stayed in your fridge and then it would have lost so much flavor. Serena, thank you for being here. Blanch those herbs if you plan on blending it, if you plan on doing this. This has so much flavor and it will be stable. Above all else, it will be stable, it will be beautiful, and it will be delicious. This is going to give us an incredible potato salad for today. Everybody, the beef has been in there for like another 15 minutes. We're going to go ahead and give that another little inspection. It's beef inspection day. So let's go ahead and just give that a little look, see how that's doing. We're going to pull it out of the oven, and we're going to get another temperature reading. Oh, let's just get my NutriBullet thingy out of here. The wire was just on the stove where it was hot, so that was a bit of an issue. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pull out the beef, nicely and beautifully tucked away in the oven. Now it is taking on the aroma, the scent of a roasted beef. Again, it's not going to look amazing at this stage. The actual color will be built up when we get to the searing portion. So guys, be patient. Be patient. Can I please get a yes, chef? I want to make sure that all of you understand exactly what we're doing here. So August and Ryan, you said that opening the oven while cooking is bad. Yes, it's bad because we end up losing a lot of temperature. What's really nice is an external probe thermometer that you can then keep like it plugged in, and then you keep the probe outside of the oven. Mine exploded, so I don't actually have the privilege of doing that anymore. Okay, we're going to go ahead and give this bad boy a little teeny tiny inspection into the thickest part. So directly into the center, nice and flat all the way in, okay? And we just go in with our probe. And it's reading 111, 112. It's slowly heating up. It's getting there. Guys, already with that little bit of cook time, it's already at 113 degrees Fahrenheit. And that is the temperature that we're roughly going for, okay? Because we still want to finish it off in a pan. 114 in that part. Let's go ahead and measure off this part as well while we have a second. Ooh, let's not have it touch the hot tray. 118. 119. Guys, guess what? That roast beef is actually now done roasting. That at 250 degrees, 120, 118 degrees Fahrenheit internal, that's perfect. We're going to go ahead and turn off the oven, but it's still not done cooking yet. You could theoretically eat this as it is right now, but it is not all that interesting. It's not all that delicious at this point. We now have to get a beautiful, proper sear on this thing, like a steak, okay? So guys, let's go ahead and get a nice pan preheated. I would have ideally liked to do this immediately as it came out of the oven, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and get a nice little pan preheated. I'm going to be using, for today, my really, really gorgeous carbon steel pan. I'm going to be using this carbon steel pan, and we're going to get a really nice color on it. The only thing I just want to make sure of is my beef going to roughly fit? I feel like it's going to fit. I feel like it's going to be okay. I'm going to heat this up on a medium heat, guys. We want to make sure that it heats up nice and even. Medium heat, hit it with some peanut oil, and then it's going to be amazing. Last thing, centers don't rise in temperature linearly. The middle goes slow then fast, so being impatient will dry your segment out. Absolutely. Also, hello, Majam Fila. Welcome on in. I'm going to just give it one more probe, just to be sure you're not going to lose a significant amount of juice, as people would fearmonger and tell you that you would. Okay? I'm just going to go ahead and poke it on in, and then I'm going to go ahead and get a reading in just a second. Have I had yuca? I love yuca. Love them. I love pastelas de yuca. I love fried yuca. I love yuca in stews. Yuca is one of my favorite. Also, DeJoy, welcome on in. Hope you're having a beautiful day today. So guys, I'm going to go ahead and inspect my beef. And again, it is just ready and begging to be put onto a nice hot pan. Yep, that has hit the internal temperature that we are indeed looking for today. So we're heating up this pan. We're heating up a carbon steel pan. We're looking to get it nice and hot. You don't want to do a super high heat, okay? And the reason for this is because if you just do a high heat, it's not going to sear evenly. So you want to heat it up nice and medium and slow to make sure that the entirety of the carbon steel is perfectly even and ready to go for us. Does everybody understand? I want to hear a nice yes, chef, from everybody watching. And so, by the way, the beauty of reverse searing, the beauty of slowly roasting a piece of meat is that we don't actually need to let it rest. We don't really need to let it rest because there is no unevenness in the cooking itself, okay? It was brought up to temperature evenly, it was evenly cooked, and it's not so hot that the juice immediately spills out when it's completely runny, right? Because, the meat juices themselves, they do get a little bit more viscous as the meat tends to sit. So we're heating up this pan nice and slowly. I'm just going to go ahead and just be cleaning up my station while I have a moment and a minute to do so. I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of my potatoes, or my potato pot rather. Did I scorch myself? A little tiny bit. I did end up burning myself slightly, and that's okay. That's fine. It happens to me every single stream. So guys, we're heating up the pan nice and medium and slow so that we have absolutely no hot spots. I'm gonna go ahead and transfer the beef over to this guy. Okay. And we don't really need to take the twine off at this stage. We still want the twine to kind of help keep the beef intact as it goes. We're going to be getting this pan really, really hot. We're going to be basically getting this thing smoking hot today. Like, sorry, not very funny. We're gonna get it nice and hot. We're going to develop a nice, big, beautiful crust. And a nice part about having such a thick piece of meat is that we have a pretty big margin of error on it. We have a lot of time to actually develop said crust because it's so thick that we're not going to significantly overcook a portion of it. In the process of developing a crust on it to get it nice and brown and delicious looking, you do end up cooking the beef more. Right? You end up cooking it more. With a thick piece of beef, it's a little bit more, it's a little less more negligible, less negligible. It's just not as important to really consider. So we're gonna get nice and hot. We're being nice and patient. The roast beef is done cooking. Time to just get some color on it. The potatoes are finished boiling. We made the dressing. Does anybody have any questions for me at this stage in the process so far? Because now would be a really, really good time to ask me. Heating this bad boy up on medium. We no longer need this utensil, so I'll go ahead and just get rid of it. Excellent. And I'm gonna go ahead and just get my tongs ready to go. I'll put away my spider. We no longer need the spider either for today. My potatoes are continuing to just beautifully steam dry for our consumption. But yeah, this would be a really good time to ask me any and all cooking questions that you may have. Because guess what? I'm here to teach you all how to cook and how to cook at home and how to cook this dish. Trying to make you all understand. Okay. Heating it up, let's go in now with a little bit of peanut oil. The reason why I didn't heat it up alongside the oil is because we just sort of like risk burning the oil if it heats up alongside it, okay? Hey chef, what do I do if my cringe 9 to 5 is gaming? My t-shirt explodes, it just immediately combusts. Will I make a Wellington? So is you, I'm not sure how to pronounce your tag. Is it Christo? Please correct me. But I would not make a Wellington at home, and I'm going to tell you why. I think a Wellington is extraordinarily impractical. It is meat in a puff pastry with, Parma ham with, prosciutto, right? And you also have to make a duxelle. It's a lot of different components. It's pretty technical, and it's not very adaptable in a home setting. The reality is it's very nice when you eat it immediately, but it's also the kind of a dish that doesn't make a lot of sense to me because you're looking for a perfectly cooked piece of beef, and you're also looking for a perfectly cooked puff pastry, but the meat releases liquid as it cooks, and that makes the puff pastry soggy. So I think it's a little impractical. So guys, I'm going to go ahead and get some oil into my pan. Now, we want a generous amount of oil because the oil is going to be the intermediary. It's going to be the thing that is in between the pan and the beef itself to make sure that we have a nice, beautiful crust. Okay, and so all I'm going to do, by the way, before we put it on, we're letting the oil heat up for just a second. And this is a step that I think is pretty essential that not a lot of people do. We're going to pat it dry before it goes on. The meat is covered in a little bit of its own juices at this point. Not too much, we dried out the surface quite well, but enough that it could become a problem. And so we're putting it into a hot pan full of oil. Let's just go ahead and just stop any potential for splashing by just getting rid of a little bit of it. The oil is smoking, it is smoking hot. Let's redistribute the oil, guys, and let's add in my beautiful piece of beef. And you can see it immediately splashed because of the liquid that was there. And now, guys, that roast beef is getting some really proper, gorgeous color on it. May the juices be delicious. Hi, Moonhun. It's lovely to have you. And so, everybody, here's what we're going to do to ensure that we have a nice, even crust. Everybody tap in. I want to make sure that you're all nicely locked in for this. Here's the issue. When you put a meat onto a hot pan, I want to hear a nice yes, chef. I want to make sure that you're all listening. Okay? What happens is, the part that is in contact with the beef becomes cold, and the part that isn't ends up heating up more. So every 20 seconds, we're actually going to give this thing a little rotation. So I'm going to pick it up, and I'm just going to rotate it to a different edge, to a different side of the pan. Wait 20 seconds and do it again. And that way, we're going to develop the most beautiful crust possible. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of the sheet tray once I do my next rotation. And it doesn't have to be exactly every 20 seconds or so. That's just like a very nice rule of thumb. Okay? So again, this spot has been completely naked. Let's move the beef over like this now. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and just simply get rid of my sheet tray because we no longer need it. Thank you, Mr. Sheet Tray. You did a wonderful job for us. And into the dishwasher it goes. And we're giving this beef, guys, we're giving it a lot of love. We're building up that crust. We're building up that searing because we don't just want a baked piece of beef. And you can already see, look at that crust developing. Look how crispy it looks. Look how wonderful it looks, everybody. Doesn't that look nice? Doesn't that look special? And this was with a cheap cut of beef. Any cheap cut of beef can be transformed into a gorgeous, gorgeous roast beef, everybody. And we don't want to sear this too long. We don't want to overcook it, but we do have a pretty big margin of error. Because it is so thick. Okay? And then we're just going to go ahead and take it and give it another rotation. And we're cooking it nice and even. We're getting that fat crispy. We're getting that beef looking delicious. Now we go from a bland looking, uninteresting baked piece of beef to a roasted piece of beef. And that is the magic of browning it, of course. Just for visual effect, and then also to get some of that oomph, right? To get some of that brown bits, to get some of that brown delicious flavor. And we're going to do this all the way around. We're going to do this on all sides of the roast beef, okay? And we just keep it going, guys. We keep it going. We let it do its thing. This might be my thumbnail, so I'm going to, oh, wrong one. Ah! It might be. I don't know how good that looks. This shot looks a little darker than usual today, and I'm not entirely sure why that may be the case. Huh. Okay, and let's go ahead and flip it over on its side, guys, because we also want to get the sides. We want to give the sides some love. Okay, it's not just about the top of it. It's not about the bottom. It's also about the sides. And the sides, it might need a little bit of help in holding it up. Beautiful. Okay, and let's continue just to move it around. Guys, we're getting a really, really delicious piece of roast beef right now. My thing is a little too, it's a little too dark, right? I feel like this is all a little too dark. Yeah, I would definitely want some more light on this. Okay, and let's give that other side some love. You want to give all the sides love, guys, so that they all get nice and deliciously browned, beautiful. And also, it does pay off to be wiping down your station while you're doing this so it doesn't splash anywhere. It's already been cooked, chili poi. It's already been in the oven. It's been at we did a low roast at 250 degrees to make sure that it was nicely and evenly cooked all the way through. So I'm just wiping this off because, of course, we have the splashing oil. We give it a rotation to ensure that it's evenly searing as much as possible, and we'll build up a little bit more color. No, this bad boy, to get to the internal temperature that I wanted, it was only about an hour and 20 minutes. Hour and 20 minutes. But the thing that we're going off of is I wanted an internal temperature of 115. 115 is ideal for this, okay? And let's flip this bad boy over again. Oh, guys, look at that. That is what I'm talking about. That's beautiful. Beautiful. Okay? There you go. And let's just give this side a little bit more love, and we'll flip it back again once more. And that will be it. It is a beautiful roast beef, and it's done with a cheap cut of beef. That is the beauty of this. And this is also the kind of a thing. Everybody listen. Everybody pay attention to this. I want all of you tapped in. A roast beef doesn't necessarily even need to be eaten hot. My favorite thing throughout the week is when I have a delicious, tender, nice pink bit of roast beef, slicing it nice and thin, sandwiches. It's this kind of a thing that transforms so well, regardless if it's hot or cold. This is the kind of a thing that I think is ideal home food for that reason. Okay? Let's go ahead and pick it up once more. Look at that gorgeous crust. Look at that crust. So in total, this cut of beef, this was $20. This was at $7 a pound. So pretty cheap for what it is. This is the end of the ribeye where it starts to meet the shoulder, I believe. Almost done, guys. That is a gorgeous crust. We're just giving that crust, that side, a little bit of extra time. And in total, you only need like 5 minutes of searing time, okay? Nothing much more than that. Anything else, and then you really do start risking overcooking the beef itself. Ooh, I see all the smoke and all the oil in the air. And one last movement. And that's how we build up that even crust, guys, by constantly moving it around and by making sure that we have enough oil. Do I also get beef skin? This one did not have any skin. Beef skin is really tough, right? That's what leather is made from. So you don't typically get any skin when you buy beef in supermarkets. Okay, guys, let's go ahead and take off the beef. We don't really have to let it rest because, again, it already came up to temperature, but we'll still give it a few minutes anyways. And now, let me show you all how this bad boy came out, okay? Let's show you this thing. This is my massive hunk of roast beef. There she is in all of her glory. The nice crispy fat, nice beautiful browning that we got on all of the sides of it. Excellent. And now we're just going to let this chill out and hang out until we're ready to eat. Let's go ahead and finish up the potato salad. Everybody, we are in the final stages now. We have done an incredible, wonderful job of searing this beef, getting this incredible, amazing color on it. I'm just going to also wipe off my stove while I have a second. And again, roast beef, this is the kind of thing that I do like eating a little bit lukewarm, right? We don't want all the juices to immediately run out when it's hot, okay? We've been letting the potatoes steam dry to get the potatoes ready to go for us. Look at that. Guys, look at this. Ow! Don't fall on me. Don't do that. Many have fallen for me, roast beef. It will not be you. Look at this thing. That is a beautiful, beautiful chunk of roast beef, guys. And it was brined thoroughly. We gave it so much love. We gave it so much attention. Guys, we're dispelling this absolute nonsense, this myth, okay, that dry brining somehow dries out beef. Absolutely not. It has increased moisture retention. It's going to be nice and juicy. It's going to be nice and thoroughly salted all the way through. We made the dressing. We're steam drying the potatoes as well as they sit and they cool off. Everybody, let's go ahead and make the rest of this potato salad. I'm going to go ahead and just show off, not this. Well, this I'm going to just have it go to a different thing and just let that cool off for a second. It does stink up the whole house. That much is true. Any tips to reduce smell before cooking? Ventilation. All of these are fixed by ventilation, unfortunately. So you need like a fan, you need windows open. At the end of the day, that's the only way, really, that comes to mind. So, okay, guys, let's go ahead and think about everything that needs to go through the salad. So once again, these potatoes, they were boiled with a little bit of vinegar so that they would stay a little bit more firm. We're letting them steam dry until they're cool enough to handle. I'm just going to go ahead and flip each of them over, just so it's easier to do. I might have slightly overcooked them, but that's okay. It's just fine. Idaho potatoes are really floury anyways. I'm using Idaho, even if they're not ideal, because that's what I had at home. Okay, and we'll get back to those guys in just a few moments, guys. I'll go ahead and set that behind me. We made this incredible dressing out of blanched herbs, blanched dill, blanched cilantro, so that it has so much flavor, mustard, olive oil, garlic, and lemon juice. Everybody, it is time for us now to go ahead and build the salad. So who is ready for this? We have to chop up the scallions. We have to chop up the herbs. We have to go ahead and just get everything ready for us to go. I want to hear a nice yes, chef, from everybody watching, from everybody that is still tuning in and listening as we go through this process. It is time for us to make the rest of the salad components. And so let's go ahead and get our scallions ready to go. Everybody, these are my scallions. You can't have a potato salad without alliums. You cannot have a potato salad without alliums, okay? And so I'm gonna use up every single last one of these little teeny tiny adorable scallions that I have here, okay? And so we're going to just be separating the whites and the greens so that we can cut them slightly differently. So these roots you can typically use for the stock. I'm not making a stock anytime soon, so I'm going to go ahead and put that away for us. And I'm also going to make sure that I have a nice big bowl ready to go through the potato salad. You want a bowl that's slightly too big for the amount of ingredients that you have so that you can easily mix everything through, okay? So we're going to go through this first, and one by one, we're just going to just remove the greens from the whites. Ooh, all the smoke is getting caught in my throat from actually searing the beef itself. Hi Scrublo, it's lovely to have you. We finished roasting the beef itself. Now we're going to get the vegetables for my potato salad, and then we will eat and plate, and it will all be incredible. It will all be amazing. Okay, so my whites and greens are separated because I'm going to be slicing them slightly differently, mostly for visual reasons, and then also somewhat functional reasons. Let's just go ahead and stack these up somewhat evenly, and I'm going to go ahead and cut these in half. And we're going to slice these. So the greens, I like them on an aggressive bias. Okay, I want like big blades of scallion almost. So guys, here's what I'm gonna do. We don't chop, we slice. We take this nice big bundle of scallions and we go thinly. We get these super aggressive slices. I love the angle, I love the bias, right? I just think it makes a much more fun eating experience. We're going to go ahead and adjust and orient your body, and we're just going to go through all of these and slice them up nice and thin. Now, this bundle that I probably picked was a little too thick for my hands, so hence it's like slipping out. So we're just going to go back through and just pick up any of the ones that we might have ended up dropping. So angle the scallions, angle them, get them done, get them nicely and thinly shredded, and I wanted them on a bias again, so that they just have like that visual stunning. That visual stun to them, excuse me. So let's just grab these bad boys. We'll get to those in a second. Everybody, again, bench scraper, take it, clean up your station. Into our salad bowl, all of it goes. I do love thin cut garnishes, man. They just look nice. And let's just go ahead and repeat with the rest of these. And guys, you need a nice sharp knife, and we're slicing. We're slicing all the way through. I love scallions. I don't think you can have too many scallions ever, quite frankly. Okay? You can't have too many scallions. So just live a little bit. We're using this entire bundle of scallions. It might seem wasteful. I love scallions. I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna die on that hill. Okay guys, and my next bundle, you know what? I'm gonna learn from my past mistakes. I'm just gonna do that in 2 goes. And nicely, thinly slice it on a nice aggressive bias, just so that we have that visual stunning look to them, so that we really get that surface area from every single one of these. Does anybody have any questions? Is everybody still tapped in? I want to hear a nice yes chef from everybody watching. Okay, and again, all the ones that we've neglected and forgotten about, we'll go back in, scoop them up, and give them another pass all the way through. We could save some on top to put like as a garnish on the top, but I think that's not necessary. And we scoop. Okay, and let's do this last bundle. And the other ones, we're just going to slice them nice and thin. But I don't want them on a bias because the scallion whites, they tend to be a little bit more pungent. So I wanted them even thinner and smaller. Right? We don't need this specific look that we're getting the greens. Okay? And let's not forget about this. And it's okay if you just accidentally go back through a couple. Some of them will get chopped up finer than others. That's totally okay, guys. It happens. And let's add all of them into a nice bowl. And now all of my scallion whites. Guys, I'm just going to do these really nice and simple. I'm going to stack them up nice and flat against my knife. And super thin slices. We're not chopping. We're slicing. We're using the full length of our knives all the way through. You can pull or push depending on your preferred technique and your school of thought. All the way through. That's not enough people saying yes, chef. Everybody that didn't say it just now, I want to hear a nice yes, chef. Please and thank you. That wasn't everybody. Guys, get it together. And going through all of the scallions, every single last one of them. Beautiful. We're taking our time. We're being nice and patient with this process. It takes time. Good things take time. Good things come to those who wait. Almost done, guys. A couple more to go, okay? Beautiful. There you go. And it's fine if we have a couple of big pieces. Not going to be the end of the world. And let's get all of these scallions into my bowl. Guys, I love my potato salads to be filled with herbs, for it to be nice and vibrant and green, okay? I don't always want it to just be drenched in mayonnaise or anything, all right? I want to be able to taste everything else. And we're going to go ahead and just season up my scallions with a little bit of salt, just so that we make sure that they're not too bland or anything. Okay, let's move on to the rest of the herbs, guys. We have the cilantro and the dill to process now. I know, we're in it for the long haul. We're in it to see the roast beef at the end. But first, we got to get through the cilantro portion. Nice bundle of cilantro. I'm not really measuring how much I'm using. We still have plenty of it in the dressing itself. And I'll be putting that into the fridge. Okay, and then we'll be doing my dill afterwards. So let's go ahead and let's pluck off the leaves from the actual stems, because I don't love the texture of the stems in a raw salad. Okay, just pluck, pluck, pluck. Get all of them done. Does anybody have any questions for me at this stage? It doesn't have to just be about this dish. It can be about anything that you would like. And again, you can leave the stems if you would like. Just, again, not my preferred texture in a salad format. Okay. Nice fresh cilantro. I just bought it the other day. It was time for me to restock. I cook with cilantro all the time in so many different applications, so I can't really have too much in a home setting. Okay, that's all this. And now, guys, here's the rule about slicing herbs. I want to make sure that everybody, especially if you're new, so August and Ryan, Jesselens, I want you all to tap in. This is my cilantro slicing theory, my herbs slicing theory, my soft herb slicing theory. You never chop. We only exclusively slice. We're going to go through this super gently and use the full length of our knives. When we chop it, we cleave it like an axe and we end up crushing the herbs. So all you have to do, guys, just take all these herbs in your hands. You're going to bundle them up. You're going to hold them nice and tight. And then you're going to take your knife and you're going to put it down, and like a baby bird, not so gently that it flies away, but not so firmly that you crush its brains. You're going to take this baby bird and you're going to slice thin, thin, thin. And we're not chopping. We're using minimal vertical force. We're using the fullmost length of our knives imaginable to get this task done with as minimal force as possible. And that way, we keep the cilantro nice and fresh. We stop it from oxidizing. We stop it from turning brown. We stop it from exposing the chlorophyll. This is how you get perfect herbs every single time in a sliced format. So many people say, oh, just rock chop it, just mince it like that. Absolute nonsense. You crush it and you destroy it. Guys, that's all that needs. We sliced it up beautifully. We didn't chop it. There's a difference between chopping and slicing. Chopping is a vertical motion. Slicing is using the full length of it. Can you do that with rosemary and thyme? Those are a little bit different because they're a little bit more robust. I truthfully haven't actually worked with them in quite some time. So I'm not able to give you that advice quite yet. So I think it should. It's just that they're a little bit harder and a lot more difficult to manipulate as a result. So we're going to do the same exact thing with the dill. Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and immediately just get rid of my dill, put it back into the fridge. Lovely. And let's do the same thing, guys. Let's just pluck it. Let's get rid of all of those big stems. I don't love the stems on dill. And the dill I'm going to do a little bit finer, just because I don't love massive pieces of dill. Everybody should be cooking with more dill. I grew up eating it, okay? I grew up eating it. I grew up in a Russian household. If you have a nice big bundle of dill at the supermarket, I highly recommend investing in some. It is criminally underused, and people exclusively pigeonhole it into just, salmon with dill and lemon juice. And it's the most boring thing imaginable for me, when dill can do so much more. So again, plucking it, getting all the little fronds of dill. Excellent. And guys, we're going to make this roast beef, and we're going to make this potato salad. It's going to be amazing once it all comes together. So same idea. We're just plucking off all the fronds. You can keep the stems if you would like. Not my preferred texture, but you do you. in this case. But the biggest thing that I want to make sure that none of you do, I don't want to see you chop this dill. My poor grandmother, she chops her dill and it turns brown and it loses all of its flavor. So we don't do that. Instead, we pick it up. She did not know best. I do. So listen to me, please, and thank you. We're going to go ahead and take all of this dill, and once again, holding it down gently and slicing it, not chopping it, not destroying it. Gently, 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 all the way through, guys. Minimizing the crushing, minimizing the damage being done to the cells. We're just processing up my dill. Is that clear? My voice is getting a little not great because of all the smoke from searing the beef itself. So I do apologize for that. Okay, and then with these, because I like them a little bit finer, I'm going to give them a nice little quarter to it and give them the same exact treatment, guys. So slice, 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 all the way through, just so that we don't have any massive pieces yet. It does smell good. It smells pretty excellent at the moment. Thank you for pointing it out. Okay, that's all of my dill that I'm gonna need. And again, I love my salads full of all of these herbs. Look at how much. Look at how much. We have the scallions, we have the dill, we have the cilantro, all of them together in marriage and harmony. Okay? And now, here's the thing. We already have garlic in the dressing, but we blended the garlic with the lemon juice. I want to evoke some of that raw garlic flavor still. And so I'm going to go ahead and just take one garlic clove. I think will do nicely for this amount of potato salad. We already have 3 cloves blended up, but we didn't produce any of that allicin because of the fact that we blended it with something acidic. And now I want to embrace that pungency. We go ahead and we take a garlic clove and we give it a big old smash. We give it a smash so that we can easily just take the skin off of the garlic clove. Okay, it just peels up super nicely, super easily. Then we go in there and we trim off the butt of the garlic. And now let's go ahead and put it through my garlic press. Even if it's just 1 clove of garlic, I love my garlic press. It makes my life so much easier. Okay, and let's get it in there and just press it all the way through, all in one shot. Nicely done garlic press. I hate slicing garlic, I hate chopping it. It gets sticky, it makes a mess. I'm looking for that pungency of the garlic. I'm looking for all of it to go through. Perfect. All of it inside. There we go. And I'm gonna go ahead and quickly rinse this off. And now guys, we have a few more components to go. Just a few more, I promise. And then we will be done. So thank you all for being so patient with me for this process. Let's continue to finish off Mr. Salad. Mr. Potato Salad, that is. And I love putting the salad portion in potato salad itself. I hate it when it's just potatoes drenched in mayonnaise. For me, it is essential to have all of these different ingredients, to have so many different aromas, to have all of this greenery, so that it doesn't just suffocate. Okay, guys, my potatoes, they have finished steam drying. I'm going to go ahead and glove up because this is where it starts to get a little bit sticky. And we're going to start adding them into the bowl. In fact, actually, here's what we're going to do before we do that. We're going to mix up all of the herbs and the garlic first. And the reason why I like doing this is because you can really easily over mix the potatoes and then it turns into mashed potatoes. So by mixing everything first, we're basically mixing up the seasoning blend, and then we get to, we don't have to like mix the potatoes too much. You mix the potatoes too much and they become like a mashed potato. And that's not the texture that I'm going for today. So my gorgeous dressing, all of it inside, the olive oil, the mustard, the garlic, the lemon juice, the lemon zest, the blanched dill, the blanched cilantro, right? It's aromatic, it's flavorful, and because of the fact that we blanched the herbs, this salad is going to hold exceptionally well in the fridge. Everything did randomly get saturated. It's probably my webcam. My webcam is not amazing for this. I apologize. I want to offer better camera quality, and we will at some point. It's just a lot of planning. So let's go ahead and get all of this lovely stuff inside. Okay, guys? Get all of it in there. Get all of it inside. We don't want to waste any of it. Okay? It's delicious. It's fresh. It's green. We don't want to waste any last bit of it, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and just submerge this so that it doesn't just sort of dry. So just give me a moment, please, and thank you. Okay, and now we're going to go ahead and thoroughly mix all of this stuff up before we actually add in the potatoes. And that way we won't actually have to over mix anything. We get to keep the mixing down to a minimum. There is one last addition I wanted to do, which was the Parmesan cheese. because I had some Parmesan in my fridge, and I thought that Parmesan on a potato salad would be really delicious, guys. So, Parmesan. Now, is this Parmigiano Reggiano? No. This is just your average Bel Gioso, whatever the brand is, Parmesan. It's not amazing, but it will be in this salad. So let's go ahead and get a bunch of it inside. It's almost like a pesto we're doing here, right? We basically have all of the elements. Lemon, garlic, herbs, olive oil, just no pine nuts. And I want a bunch of Parmesan in here, guys. I'm making it snow. Okay, so take a look. Take a look at this. That's what I'm looking for. Let's tap it off, and let's go ahead and mix that in as well. And then we'll add in the potatoes, taste it, and call it a day. How's that sound? Cheese, back into the fridge she goes. And let's mix everything up. Oh yeah, this is basically like a pesto at this point. And this is going to be the base of my gorgeous potato salad, guys. So I'm mixing in the cheese now. It's really, really salty at this stage. It's supposed to be a little too salty, okay? Because it's supposed to compensate for how bland the potatoes are on the inside. And now, let's go ahead and get my potatoes ready to go. I apologize for how long this has taken. I do sincerely. But now, we will repent and get all of that done. So let's go ahead and get each potato, and we're going to chop it up. We don't want to actually chop it up too finely, because the potato is going to break down as we actively mix it, okay? And so, we want to make sure that we're starting with, let's do a couple of these halves at once. Okay, those are my boiled potatoes. And I'm just going to get in there, guys, and I'm going to just cut it in half, like so. It's staying nice and together. Okay, and again, not too finely. This is not going to be the final texture of it. It's going to crumble and it's going to break up into the salad itself. Okay, so don't worry about it at the stage. Cut it in half. And chop it up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, you want to overcompensate at this stage. Also, Zlo, it's lovely to see you. It's been a little bit, hasn't it? I feel like it's been a while. Thank you so much for the sub. Okay, and I'm going to use my bench scraper just to get in there. We're being gentle. We're not trying to make mashed potatoes on my cutting board. I'm picking all of it up. And we're going to go back through this bundle of potatoes. Delicious. Guys, I love boiled potatoes. Love them. Can't get enough of them. I'm really excited about the salad, guys. This is going to be incredible. Super simple. So just get all of my potatoes nicely and beautifully sliced. If I wanted to make them crispy on the outside, well, what do you mean? Do you mean for like a potato salad, Allie? Or do you just mean for like a general crispy potato? Because I have very different advice depending on what you're telling me. If you wanted to get them crispy on the outside like a roast potato, I recommend following J. Kenji Lopez Alt's guide on the crispiest roasted potatoes. Those are excellent. Or you could just pan fry them in olive oil. Although if you wanted, crispy like potato in a salad, I wouldn't know. Because I feel like in a salad setting, they'll just get soggy. So you're really not going to get much out of it. Also, Dolingo, lovely to see you. Have I ever prepared beef with some type of mushroom? Of course. All the time. I mean, I love doing like beef stews with mushroom inside, right? It's just one of my favorite things to do. So we're continuing to get all of my potatoes in there. It's going to take a little bit, guys. I do apologize. Just gotta process, keep processing, keep it all going, get it all done. Okay? A little bit crumbly on the outside, that's okay. It's gonna contribute to the final texture. We chopped it up, and into the bowl it goes. Bolio Wigolio. Why are they so dusty? That's because in the process of steam drying, all that steam basically overcooked the outside of the potato. And also these are Idaho potatoes. So Idaho potatoes, super starchy, super floury. They tend to get like this more than most. So Yukon Gold potato would have been my ideal, but the reason I've chosen an Idaho potato is because that's what I had at home. And the whole point of this cooking show is for us to use up things that we have at home and show you what it means to really, truly cook at home. Oh, for like a crispy fried potato, hot pan oil fried potato, I would do a roasted potato, right? When you would do the J. Kenji Lopez Alt method with some baking soda, so it does intentionally crumble up a little bit more. Although that is an incredibly laborious process, It is a really, really delicious one. Okay, guys, last few chunks of potato. And then we're going to combine it all and make it into one gorgeous salad. We're chopping it up. We're getting it done. It just takes a little bit of time. Thank you so much for your patience throughout this process. Oh, my knife is all covered in effectively mashed potato, right? I love boiled potatoes. So simple. It's such a treat for me. Okay, guys, all of my potato has now been officially cut up. I'm getting it into the bowl, and now it is time for us to begin the great mixing of the potato. In just a second, though, I do want to wash off my knife because it is a carbon steel knife. And so if I let it sit out like this, it's just going to end up rusting. So I want to go ahead and just rinse off all the potato from it. Rinse off the potato, get all that stuff off of it, and I'm going to dry it off thoroughly. So everybody, please bear with me for just a moment. And now I'm going to show you how delicious, how incredible my potato salad is going to be. Is everybody excited for this? I want to hear a nice yes, chef. Please, and thank you. I know I'm making you guys say it a lot today. I just want to make sure that we're all engaged, that you're all tapped in, that you're all listening, that you all understand exactly what's about to happen. And I do mean everybody. If there was a time for everybody to tap in, now would be the time. So I'm just getting done with the washing of my lovely carbon steel knife. And I'm going to go ahead and thoroughly dry this thing off. We no longer need this cutting board. We will, I'll just get a separate one for the roast beef itself. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and just dry off this knife because again, it's carbon steel. This is my creamery knife, my creamery's willing knife. They're really, really good. They just need to be dried off so that they don't rust. Okay. And dry that off, and my handle too. Beautiful. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of all of this. Throw that into my dishwasher. My cutting board, my bench scraper, they've all done an excellent job for us today. Throwing them inside. And now, everybody, it is time for us to make this beautiful, beautiful potato salad. Let's wipe off my station really quickly while we have a second as well. Just get all of this into the trash bowl where it all belongs. There we go. Excellent. Everybody, here's a potato salad. It looks unassuming because we have all these boiled potatoes on top, but then once we flip it, once we get all of that incredible dressing, all of those herbs, that garlic, that olive oil, everything throughout, this then becomes a beautiful potato salad. And we cut them up into big chunks. We cut them up into big chunks so that they wouldn't break apart too much because I'm not looking for the mashed potato consistency. Ooh, look at this big pocket of dressing, guys. Just get it in there, spread that dressing out, take the potatoes, and we want every single last little bit of potato to be properly covered in this dressing, this paste. There we go. She's going. She's doing its thing. Okay, take it. Again, we're opening it up. We're not looking to turn this into mashed potato because that way the potato salad gets a little too dry. We're just getting that dressing all evenly coated, all of it evenly spread out across all the potatoes. Allie, of course, that's what I'm here for. So just really, truly pick it up from the bottom, okay? And that's how you get it all evenly incorporated. And now, guys, this potato salad is absolutely full of herbs. It is full of scallions. It has so much flavor. And this is excellent when warm, it's excellent when it's cold, it's excellent when it's lukewarm. This is the ideal home food. With regular potato salad, that's the only kind of you want to eat it cold. You don't want to really eat warm mayonnaise, right? But with something like this, this is perfect. Get all of it moved around, get all of it spread around. There we go. And again, it is going to get too dry if you over mix it because then it becomes like a dry mashed potato, correct? So you need to make sure that you're not crumbling it up too much. But guys, I think that is a respectable looking potato salad. So I think it's time for a little taste. Let's taste it. Let's see how it came out. I'm looking for herbaceousness. I'm looking for acidity. So simple. Fresh, delicious, full of herbs to the very brim of it. That is perfect. That is an incredible potato salad. That is lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely. That is perfect. I know it doesn't look like much, right? But There is so much effort, there is so much love, there is so much intentionality put into every single last step of this. This is truly an incredible potato salad. That is what I was looking for today. Something that can be eaten with a nice warm piece of beef. Everybody, it is time for us to now slice into the roast beef. Are you all ready? Are you all excited? I'm gonna go ahead and just get my potato salad behind me. Okay. And now let's go ahead and slice up this roasted beef. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab a paper towel and soak it in water just so that it stays nice and firm on my cutting board. It keeps my cutting board from slipping away or anything. And I'm looking for a nice medium rare on my roast beef. I'm looking for it to be nice and juicy, nice and red all the way through. Let's grab my cutting board, have that thing ready to go. And now guys, let's go ahead and grab my beef. Gloving up just to make my life a little bit easier as we do this. And here she is. Gorgeous. All those juices. Oh. That's my roasted beef. Gentle, 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 guys. Delicate, delicate, delicate. We're going to go ahead and just take off all of that twine. The twine did an amazing job. The twine held the thing together as it cooked, but now we no longer need the twine. Everybody, please say thank you to Mr. Twine. He held the beef up for us, and we no longer need him or his services. And let's just go ahead and take this and peel all of it off. It gets sometimes stuck in there as it cooked through. Okay, and now might be the time where we actually get the money shot of today. So we'll see how that goes. Is that the one? Is that the twine? Is it like that cooked inside? Wow, it like fused. Okay, and let's get rid of all of this twine. I'm just going to go ahead and flip this over to make my life a little bit easier. I know I'm being super, super slow about this, but I want to be nice and dramatic with my reveal of the roasted beef. Okay, and a little bit of twine left on the board. Okay, let's go ahead and just slice him down the middle. Let's see, what am I left with? Oof. I'm gonna double glove, hold it up to the camera. Let's get a still. Hold on, everybody. Hold on, hold on, hold on. Hold on, hold on, hold on. I don't think any of you understand how good that is. Glove. Glove. Let's grab this juicy, beautiful piece of roast beef. Look at that. With a cheap cut of meat nonetheless, this is the product that we get at the end of the day. Through all of that work, through all of that labor, that is my roast beef. All worth the effort, wasn't it? Juicy, tender, perfectly done, medium rare, all the way through. This is exactly what I was going for, guys. Nice. Isn't it? Really, really special stuff. I'm gonna get rid of half of it because we don't need that much on my cutting board at once at the moment. And now let's just go ahead. And it's just gonna be the beef right now, guys. We're just beefing it. We're up beefing it. So we're going to go ahead and slice this against the grain. You can see that the grain is almost flowing this way. So we're going to go ahead and just give it some nice big slices, just like this, guys. Beautiful. And nice and thin, okay? Nice, thin slices. This isn't a ribeye. This isn't a tenderloin. So we want nice, thin slices all the way through. That is just cutting so easily. You guys have no idea how tender this thing is. Wow. Super tender, super moist, super delicious. That is perfect. Gorgeous. Let's have a little taste. Oh my God. Why is that so tender? This cheap cut of meat, this tender, unbelievable. Genuinely unbelievable that it can be this tender. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. That's why you cut it against the grain, guys. Look at that. We got a beautiful, pile. We have an absolute pile of roasted beef. It's time for us to plate. You guys ready for this? Let's get all of it together. Let's get all of it nice and assembled. And I'm going to eat the manliest meal of all, meat and potatoes. So let's go ahead and just rinse off my knife one more time, because again, it was cutting some beef. I don't want it to rust or anything. So just gonna go ahead and quickly take care of that while I have a second. Guys, that is how easy it is to make an amazing roast beef at home. It is easy. It is consistent. Out of a cheap cut too. It's all possible. Out of an eye of round, you could even do this. Is it gonna be as tender? No, but you just slice it thin and it'll be amazing anyways. Who needs a tenderloin? You don't always need a ribeye. You don't need to spend that much money on a chunk of beef, guys. Okay, it's unnecessary. So we're going to go ahead and now take a plate. We're gonna go ahead and take us a nice, beautiful plate. And we're going to go ahead and assemble a nice pile of my potato salad. Just a nice big dollop right onto my plate. Because I deserve it. I've worked hard today. I put so much effort into today's stream. Let's go ahead and get all of that nicely assembled. And then let's go ahead and get some of my delicious roast beef. Just drape it over in a nice little pile, a nice little stack. I think that's a good, healthy portion of roasted beef. Beautiful. Everybody, that's my roast beef and potatoes, my meat and potatoes for today. I'm gonna grab a fork, I'm gonna grab a knife, and we're gonna do one last recap session. So is everybody ready for this recap session? Camera, fix yourself. Camera, what are you doing, buddy? Why is my camera like this right now? It doesn't like things that are red, it really freaks out. What are you doing? Okay, whatever, I'm over it. Let's grab a fork, let's grab a knife, and let's talk about everything that you and I together have succeeded in making. Everybody, let's start with this roast beef. Nice cheap cut that we have here. Yesterday, also DeJoy, thank you so much for the 3 gifted subs. Yesterday, we took it, we put it in the fridge, we put it on a sheet tray with a wire rack. We let this beef air dry and dry brine. The dry brine, the salt, penetrated the beef, evenly seasoned it, and increased its moisture retention. We tied it up in twine so that it evenly cooked, went into a 250-degree oven until the inside registered 115 degrees. We took it out and then we seared it in a bunch of oil to develop a beautiful crust. This potato salad was no joke. We blanched a bunch of cilantro and dill, fresh herbs, so that it would stay nice and stable. We blanched it and we turned it into a dressing with olive oil, with mustard, with garlic, with lemon zest and lemon juice. The potatoes, Idaho potatoes, your average, humble Idaho potato. We boiled it in some water with some vinegar. The vinegar, the acidity helps it to stay intact, for it to hold its shape. We took the potatoes out, we chopped it up, we added it into the salad bowl with an excess of scallions, with an excess of dill, of cilantro, some raw garlic as well, and a bunch of Parmesan cheese. Everybody, let's go ahead and have a taste. Let us have a taste of this potato salad and this roasted beef. Now this knife I have is a little bit dull, but that's okay because the flavor, it's so tender. It's so juicy. That is a roast beef. That is a proper roast beef. Not out of a tenderloin, not out of a ribeye, but out of a cheap cut. That is a proper roast beef, guys. Let me tell you right now. It stores in the fridge exceptionally well. You can make sandwiches out of it later on. And now some of this potato salad. All of these greens. Nicopi, a skirt steak is the diaphragm muscle of the cow. It pushes the lungs up and down. Oh, beautiful. Have you guys ever seen a potato salad this green? That's so good. It's acidic, it's herbaceous. These two are so delicious together. And that's it. It's not well done. Well, thank you. I made a stupid joke. Everybody, thank you so much for being here. Next stream is going to be this Wednesday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. As always, every Wednesday, every Friday, every Sunday. If you haven't done so, right now, I want you to check out my Patreon. Exclamation mark Patreon. The direct support there is really appreciated. I would love to be able to do this full time at some point. I want to teach you all how to cook. I want to teach you all how to cook at home. Next stream is going to be 5 p.m. EST, EDT, whatever time zone it is, Eastern Time. 5 p.m. this Wednesday, every Friday, every single Sunday. Please, 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 thank you for being here. I appreciate every single last one of you. Thank you for supporting the show. Thank you for supporting what we do here. I hope you have an excellent rest of your Sunday nights. Take it easy. You have a long week ahead of you. I'll see you in just a couple of days, so don't miss me too much. Join the Discord if you want to be a part of the community, exclamation mark Discord, if you want to join and interact with everybody that is here. Thank you all so much. And I will now go ahead and enjoy my dinner. Bye-bye.